What do you think the first day at a new school looks like for a tough guy who reeks of trouble, picking fights, putting underclassmen in their place? Not even close. The moment cold-faced Jung Young-ju stood up from his desk, his pants ripped clean open. A patch of fabric on his backside stayed stuck to the seat, leaving his bright blue boxers on full display for everyone to see. The culprit was a puddle of glue. Our female lead Jin Ji-won had accidentally spilled on his chair, then forgotten to warn him about. Just like that, his entire bad boy image went up in smoke, and the girl behind that fateful pool of glue is none other than Jin Ji-won herself. Setting aside that disaster for a moment, Ji-won is actually a bright, passionate girl. She deeply admires her teacher Lee Moo-kyung, and when he was unfairly fired from the school, she stood outside alone, protesting his dismissal. That is exactly when Ki-joon walks past her, on his way to class. He sees her standing there and, in true blunt guy fashion, he proves just how straightforward he is. The sky opens up, and rain pours down. Ki-joon, holding an umbrella, glances at Ji-won soaking beside him, then simply walks off with his umbrella. Ji-won is furious and ready to unleash a few choice words at his back. But Ki-joon isn't quite that cold to everyone. He has a secret crush on his classmate Kang So-young, and around her he tries to put on his best performance. In today's PE class, he plans to show off using his athletic side. Then the Taekwondo club members arrive at the gym, and Ki-joon loses focus for just a second. He trips and falls right in front of his crush. As humiliating as that fall in front of her was, his real-life fall hit much harder. Gong Ki-joon used to be the kind of high schooler who acted before he thought, but during one Taekwondo competition, he was badly injured. That single moment forced him to stop running and to give up his biggest passion. Meanwhile, their homeroom teacher Song Chae-rin is seeing Moo-kyung off as he prepares to leave the school. Moo-kyung was always a favorite among the students, but today, not many show up to say goodbye. He understands that teenage emotions burn bright but fade fast. So when he sees Ji-won out in the rain protesting on his behalf, instead of sitting in class, his heart is both surprised and warmed. Moo-kyung carries the kind of warmth that feels like spring sunshine. He gently soothes her anger and her reluctance to let him go, and as a parting gift, hands her his own carpentry tools. The story now shifts to Ki-joon, and along with it comes a glimpse of where these kids actually study. They all attend Nulji High, a vocational school offering hands-on training in cooking, carpentry, and heavy machinery. Unlike the typical college track, students here can start working while they finish school. Ki-joon's injury has just forced him out of Taekwondo for good, but the truth is, both he and his coach know that even without the injury, his talent alone was never going to take him amidst strolls to the top. The injury just forced him to face the harder question: what is he supposed to do with his future now? Back in class, Ki-joon sees a reminder pop up on his phone. Today is the death anniversary of his close friend Ji Ho-sung, so he decides to leave early and pay his respects. Kids that age are reckless, and he rides all alone a long way out to visit the grave. Once upon a time, he, Ho-sung, and Jung Young-ju all trained Taekwondo together and were inseparable. Then something happened. Ho-sung passed away, and Ki-joon and Young-ju turned on each other. The brotherhood they once had drifted away like smoke through their fingers. Ki-joon kneels and pours out everything weighing on him to his friend's grave, and by the time he leaves, the sky has turned to dusk. Right after he heads off, another familiar face arrives. It's Young-ju, his cold expression unchanged. That night, Ki-joon comes home and finds Gong Dong-soo packing up his tools. Asking around, he learns Dong-soo has just landed a new job and is about to get very busy. Hearing this, something clicks. Ki-joon wants to make real money so that Dong-soo can finally enjoy himself. And since Dong-soo isn't getting any younger, he knows he can't drag his feet. He has to act now. The very next day, the school holds a recruitment seminar that drops the perfect opportunity into his lap. A senior named Jung Min comes back as a graduate of Nulji. He had signed a contract with a real estate firm back in his junior year, was hired full-time before graduation, and is now thriving at the company. A lot of students worry that working while studying will be brutal, but Jungmin sums it up simply: the more you invest, the more you get back. In Korea, plenty of students take out loans to attend college, then spend years paying that debt off after they graduate. Meanwhile, students like Jungmin step into adulthood early. By the time they enter the working world, they not only have no debt, they also have a little money saved. Ki-joon is sold. He has been agonizing over how to earn money to support Dong-soo, so he rushes to apply. Unfortunately, there is only one spot open, and his competitor is Ji-won, whose grades blow his out of the water. The teacher running the seminar originally planned to let both candidates interview and compete fairly, but after looking at Ki-joon's miserable transcript, she hesitates, then ultimately gives the position to Ji-won. The teacher's attitude crushes him, and his dejected mood does not escape Ji-won's notice. The next day, Lee Kang-hoon arrives to take over Moo-kyung's carpentry class. Kang-hoon is a heavy smoker who just happens to be without a lighter, so when he bumps into Young-ju nearby, he asks to borrow one. He has no clue how he managed to set Young-ju off. He casually drops the comment that students at Nolji High are basically all dropouts and slackers. Young-ju's face shifts instantly. Kang-hoon feels the temperature drop, decides he doesn't need that cigarette after all, and bolts. What happens next terrifies him even more. He realizes Young-ju is still tailing him. In a panic, Kang-hoon runs straight onto school grounds and breathes a sigh of relief once he is inside. Then he turns around and freezes. Young-ju just casually strolled in, right behind him. Kang-hoon nearly cries, convinced this thug is about to beat him up. As it turns out, Young-ju is just the brand new transfer student starting today. Kang-hoon mutters to himself, taking in how mature Young-ju looks, and concludes that this kid must have been held back for years. Across campus, Ki-joon is being dragged along by his best friend Jong-bok to help with a little operation. Jong-bok has had a long-running crush on their classmate Go Eun-bi. Eun-bi is determined to debut as an idol, and a dance video of hers recently hit 100,000 views. Jong-bok immediately leaps into action and makes her a custom support sign. Ki-joon's job is to light off some confetti poppers for atmosphere. Just then, the lookout posted outside signals that Eun-bi is on her way, and the whole room tenses up. The door swings open, Ki-joon fires off the poppers, and someone steps in 1 beat ahead of Eun-bi. That someone is the new transfer student Young-ju, the one person on Earth Ki-joon never wanted to see again. The air turns instantly awkward. Homeroom teacher Chae-rin introduces Young-ju to the class, while Ki-joon stares in disbelief. After class, Ki-joon goes looking for Young-ju, asking why on earth he transferred here. Young-ju coldly tells him to stop talking to him, that he does not want any trouble. Ji-won, standing at the front door of the classroom, watches the whole exchange. She has no idea what could have happened to make these two hate each other so much. Students start whispering about Young-ju, the new kid radiating menace from every pore. One boy claims that while working a part-time job, he once saw Young-ju doing some kind of deal with a sketchy-looking gang, raising suspicions of illegal activity. The reality is much less dramatic. The goods being exchanged were just stuffed animals. These guys just look the way they look, and that's enough for people to misjudge them. This really is a world that judges a book by its cover. Ji-won is half listening to the gossip when she accidentally knocks over a tube of glue all over Young-ju's seat. Just then he returns to class, and in her panic, she forgets to warn him not to sit. And just like that, Young-ju and the chair become one. After class, Young-ju is called to the dean's office. As he tries to stand up, he realizes he is stuck. With his usual temper, he yanks hard, and tragedy strikes. The seat of his pants peels right off and stays glued to the chair, revealing those blue boxers underneath. Ji-won, standing nearby, is too terrified to even speak, praying he will not take it out on her. Young-ju, being the stubborn kind of guy he is, just keeps on attending the rest of his classes in his boxers. Ji-won can feel the killer aura rolling off him, and it's the first time she has ever been this close to something this scary. When the bell finally rings, Ji-won slips off to her part-time job at a fast food shop. To her surprise, Ki-joon shows up to work the same shift. The two squabble a bit, as always. When Ji-won is wrapping up for the night, she runs into her mom outside. The way the two of them act is bizarre. Both look almost embarrassed and pretend they don't know each other. Once they are home, the argument finally erupts. Ji-won's mom cannot understand her daughter, who refuses to study like a normal student, picked a vocational school, and spends her days holding protest signs on campus. Ji-won fires back that wanting to be independent isn't a crime. She has her own ideas, doesn't want to follow the crowd, and refuses to waste her parents' hard-earned money. The gap between them only grows. Ji-won storms out and heads to the claw machine near her place to blow off some steam. That is when Young-ju appears and silently bumps her aside. Watching him load fresh plushies into the machine, Ji-won realizes he isn't running some illegal operation, like the rumors said. Before walking off, Young-ju coldly tells her to stop kicking the machine. Afraid of getting on his bad side, Ji-won nods like a good girl. Only after he is long gone does she realize how gentle the moment actually was. A stuffed animal has been left behind on top of the machine, clearly meant for her. Just like that, the boy radiating danger turns into something almost romantic. The next day, Kang-hoon officially starts teaching, and he still hasn't learned to read the room. Sure, he graduated from a prestigious school and has won plenty of awards, but in front of a classroom, he comes off a little clueless. On top of borrowing Youngju's lighter without returning it, he also slips in another comment about how kids who end up at this school clearly aren't the brightest. Youngju nearly teaches him a lesson right there in class. The mood in the room is impossible to describe. Seo Young is one of the few who actually respects Kang-hoon. She comes from a poor family and relies on top grades for tuition waivers and scholarships to keep the pressure off. After class, she goes out of her way to find Kang-hoon, asking him to start an after-school carpentry workshop so she can sharpen her skills. Kang-hoon, however, only has eyes for the clock. The moment it is time to clock out, he gives her a few half-hearted responses and bolts. That evening, Ki-joon and Ji-won are both working their part-time shifts when he notices that her hand is hurt. As he gently helps her wrap a bandage, the tenderness pulls Ji-won back to a memory from childhood, when he had done the exact same thing for her. Back then, little Ji-won kissed him on the cheek, and somehow, in this very moment, Ki-joon is on the same wavelength. He brings up that childhood kiss and starts teasing her about how she used to like him. Ji-won puts on her toughest face and insists that, in her eyes, he will always be that scrawny little kid he once was. Then Ki-joon leans in close, looks her dead in the eye, and asks her, completely serious, to kiss him again. Ji-won panics and shoves him away. This girl has a habit of using a fierce front to cover up how flustered she really feels inside. After their shift, Ki-joon shows off his blunt streak again. He rides up on his bike and asks if she needs a ride home since she is carrying a lot. Ji-won politely declines, so he just pedals off. She stands there, fuming that he can't read a single hint, when a smile creeps onto her face. He is coming back. Sadly, he is just back to grab something he forgot, with zero intention of giving her a ride. He really is destined for the single life. The next day, Ki-joon starts hustling to find buyers for second-hand goods, people short on cash sell, and people with too much money buy. His current client is none other than Eun-bi, his classmate currently training to debut as an idol. Her company doesn't want her to be spotted walking in and out of designer boutiques before her debut, so to feed her shopping habit, she disguises herself and buys luxury items used. Same age, same school, totally different worlds. Once the deal is done, Ki-joon heads to school and bumps into his former best friend Youngju. He tries again to strike up a conversation. Youngju, with his usual stone face, shoves him away and won't even give him a chance. Once inside, Youngju hears classmates gossiping about Ji-won, and his interest is piqued. Starting today, Ji-won is heading off early for her internship. He notices she has changed her social media profile to a cheerful photo, and in that photo is the very plush bear he left for her. The cold-faced boy lets a small smile slip through. The other students are all curious to see how Ji-won's adult life will start out. Ji-won, on the other hand, has zero expectations. Her daily work amounts to running errands. Several days into the internship, nothing she learned about architecture has been put to use. She has essentially become a personal assistant. To make things worse, her direct supervisor Bong Chun keeps cracking crude jokes that make her skin crawl. Ji-won has had enough. She refuses to swallow this in silence. She storms into Bong Chun's office to demand the chance to actually do work on site, throwing labor law right in his face. Bong Chun has never met a rookie this difficult, can't back down, and gets furious. The two have a massive blowout argument with no resolution, but Ji-won doesn't stop there. She powers up into full warrior mode. She heads straight to an internet cafe, types up a complaint, thousands of words long, at 100 words a minute, and submits it as a national petition. The moment she hits enter, a storm begins to brew. Not long after, the school's administrative office phone is blowing up. Turns out the school Ji-won attends, and the company she interned for, are owned by the same conglomerate. The complaint also happens to land on the very same day the chairman is receiving a major award. You can imagine just how livid the higher-ups are. The administration splits into two camps. On one side is her homeroom teacher Chae-rin. Chae-rin trusts that Ji-won is being honest and wants the matter fully investigated. On the other side is the senior teacher leading the faction, Koo Han-soo. He issues an ultimatum, demanding the whole thing be shut down within 24 hours. By now, Ji-won is back in class. Her classmates are stunned to see her show up out of nowhere. Before they can even ask what happened, she gets a call from a teacher summoning her to the administrative office. On the way, she crosses paths with Youngju, and he can tell something is off about her. In the office, Han-soo orders her to delete the petition. After some back and forth, with Chae-rin defending her, Han-soo offers her the chance to name her condition. Ji-won has only one ass. She wants to actually go work on a real construction site. The episode doesn't yet show what the school's solution will be. The scene cuts to carpentry class. Ki-joon, seeing Ji-won still in a daze, tries to lift her spirits by saying she is smart enough to thrive anywhere. The flattery works. Her mood lifts almost instantly. After class, Ji-won and her girlfriends go out to grab food and run into her classmate Jong Min-seo. Min-seo also works at the same company where Ji-won was interning. From the look on her face, 9 times out of 10, she is on the receiving end of Bong-chun's revenge. Ji-won doesn't pick up on Min-seo's unease. She is too caught up in the chatter about the school's mysterious transfer student. According to the gossip mill, Young-ju is so dangerous, even the cops are scared of him. He is being painted as a hardened criminal that the prison system couldn't hold. And of course, just then, who should be working at the restaurant they walk into? Yes, the very dangerous figure they were just discussing. Everyone freezes around him, but Ji-won greets him warmly. Young-ju's decent mood is wrecked by the next customer through the door. Ki-joon also walks in, and Young-ju immediately tries to throw him out. But Ki-joon doesn't budge, insisting he wants to sit and eat. The restaurant is run by Young-ju's mother and older brother, so Young-ju can't make a scene on home turf. He storms off instead. At dinner that night, his mom and brother gently try to convince him to make peace with Ki-joon. They mention vaguely that something happened in the past that turned these two best friends into enemies. Young-ju skips the rest of dinner and heads to his room. He stares at the Taekwondo charm hanging on his keychain, and his memories pull him back, way back. Once upon a time, he, Ki-joon, and Ho-sung were brothers in every sense. Their dream was to win the Taekwondo championship. They had promised each other that once they reached the top, they would all go see the view together. In every version of the bright future they imagined, the others always had a place. But that day never came. The memory fades, and he hurls the charm to the floor. The next day, a conflict breaks out in class over Taekwondo. The students bring up how much of a shame it is that Ki-joon quit the sport. Ki-joon brushes it off, saying he doesn't care, and Young-ju snaps. That dream was something the three of them shared, and Ki-joon just casually tossed it aside. Right after that, a quiet little mystery unfolds. A female student sneaks into the Taekwondo club room and hides something inside someone's locker. In the process, she accidentally smashes a small jar inside. The show doesn't yet reveal who she is. The next shot cuts to Ki-joon standing at the beach, where he had once considered throwing his own Taekwondo charm into the ocean. Night falls, and Ji-won is back at her supermarket part-time job, which is why she keeps getting nagging calls and texts from her mother. Her mom can't comprehend having a daughter who works this much. What exactly is her mother so worked up about? While working, Ji-won runs into Young-ju. Hearing that he hasn't eaten, she insists on treating him to instant noodles. One of them talks a lot, the other barely talks, and yet somehow the conversation flows. Young-ju wants to know why she walked away from her internship. Ji-won vents that the job killed any passion she had left. After answering him briefly, she carefully asks about his relationship with Ki-joon. The second she sees him hesitate, she stops pushing. Most people assume Young-ju is a delinquent because of his cold face. But after spending time with him, Ji-won sees someone entirely different from the rumors. A customer walks in, she rushes off to handle it, and Young-ju watches her through the glass with a soft smile. He doesn't even realize he is wearing. Love has a way of making people lose their footing and take crazy risks. The next day, Ki-joon spots a senior from the Taekwondo club hassling So Young in the library. Wanting to rescue her from the situation, he steps in. The senior doesn't appreciate that one bit. He orders Ki-joon to clear out every last item from his locker in the Taekwondo club. During carpentry class, Ki-joon glances out the window at the team practicing. Part of him still doesn't want to let go. That night, he reluctantly heads in to clean out his locker. In the process, he finds a letter addressed to him. The contents read like a fragment of poetry with no beginning and no end. The letter stays on his mind all through his shift at work. Unable to figure it out alone, he asks the older store manager. The manager explains that this kind of letter has been making the rounds overseas, and that some people who plan to end their lives often leave notes just like this. Based on the handwriting and a small doodle in the corner, the manager guesses the writer is a girl. Ki-joon suddenly recognizes that doodle. He sprints home, tears through his stuff, and finds an old note Ji-won had carved for him on a piece of wood when they were kids. The same little drawing is right there on it. Ki-joon thinks about how Ji-won has seemed off lately, and his stomach drops. He sends her messages, calls her, and gets nothing back. Frantic, he hops on his bike and races to her place, dragging her up to the rooftop. She just stares at him, soaked in sweat and out of breath, completely confused. What happens next is not what he expects. The letter was not written by her. The doodle was a common one back in elementary school, something tons of kids drew. The moment he learns the truth, Ki-joon is frantically deleting every message he sent her, including some embarrassingly sentimental ones about how much she means to him. Once he calms down, he realizes the letter must be a goodbye note from some girl who liked him. Ji-won asks, suspiciously, if anyone has shown interest in him lately. He looks at her for a beat, then confidently replies that aside from her, basically, everyone seems to like him. With no leads, they decide to bring the letter to a teacher tomorrow. Late that night, back in her bedroom, Ji-won notices how many messages he rushed to take back. She remembers the worry in his eyes when he came, running to find her, and she can't help wondering what kind of feeling is hiding behind all that concern. The next day, Ji-won and Ki-joon try to find Kang-hoon to tell him about the letter, but all the teachers are busy preparing to receive a visit from Gumi-hee, and nobody has time for them, so the two of them set off to track down clues on their own. Ji-won gets a lead from Eun-bi. The girl who originally designed that doodle is Min-seo, Ji-won's old fellow intern. Tragically, Ji-won figures it out too late. Min-seo is already heading up to a rooftop, and the worst still ends up happening. It made everyone think the worst about Min-seo, but the girl on the rooftop was actually a different student named Seo Young, and what fell from above was a flower pot that Young-ju had thrown off the roof. Whether he aimed for it or not, the pot crashes right to Mi-hee's car. Witnessing the whole thing, So-young and Young-ju lock eyes for a moment, then she throws him off with a sudden request. She wants him to be her boyfriend. Young-ju is too stunned to respond and just walks away. Their carpentry teacher Kang-hoon has appeared near the rooftop without anyone noticing, watching the strange scene with confusion. Down below, the broken pot on the smashed car sends the whole school into chaos. Everyone wishes they had a classmate who studied the occult, so they could figure out what kind of supernatural phenomenon caused a flower pot to rain from the sky. The only two students who couldn't care less about the flower pot are Ki-joon and Ji-won. They have now confirmed that the note belongs to Min-seo, but no matter how worried they are, they can't reach her. A quick call to the company tells them Min-seo did not come into work. The two decide to skip class and go look for her. Young-ju overhears most of the conversation as he passes by. A full-scale investigation kicks off at school. Damaging Mi-hee's car is basically declaring war on the entire institution. One by one, teachers head back to their classrooms to interrogate students. Meanwhile, Ji-won, Ki-joon, and best friend Jong-bok rush to Min-seo's apartment, but no one answers the door no matter how long they knock. Then Ji-won thinks of another place. Jong-bok stays behind to keep watch while Ji-won and Ki-joon head off to check it out. Back at school, the next scene is a bit ironic. Mi-hee, still seething about her car, uses the moment to put new teacher Kang-hoon in his place as a warning to everyone else. She blames the student's bad behavior on teachers failing in their duties, and lets him know he doesn't want to end up like Moo-kyun, who was fired before him. The bureaucratic tone in her voice makes everyone in the room uncomfortable. When the meeting ends, Seo-young sees Mi-hee still hanging around and deliberately goes up to her. She asks Kang-hoon to start a specialized club to give her more guidance. Mi-hee has already heard that Seo-young is a top student. Seeing a student so eager to learn, her mood improves, which means all the pressure now falls onto Kang-hoon, who had every intention of slacking off and not running any club at all. Cornered, he tells Seo-young that if she can recruit the minimum number of members herself, the club can happen. Once Kang-hoon manages to wriggle out of Mi-hee's grip for the moment, the look on her face darkens the moment she leaves the building. She gives a strict order. Until the culprit who damaged her car is found, no one is to move the vehicle. It will stay parked there as a warning to the entire school. So-young, unable to ride Mi-hee's coattails any further, looks disappointed. Kang-hoon casually tells her to just keep working harder. Coming from her poor background, she coldly snaps back that she already works 10 times harder than he ever has. Kang-hoon, thick-skinned as a brick wall, doesn't take offense. He just picks up a phone call and rushes off. Before clocking out, Kang-hoon passes the note Ji-won gave him to their homeroom teacher Chae-rin. Chae-rin reads it and is immediately alarmed. She calls Ji-won at once. Ji-won promises that the second she finds Min-seo, she will let Chae-rin know. Honestly, you have to wonder why no one in this story is willing to just call the police. Ji-won runs until her lungs burn. She heads to the spot she and Min-seo used to visit after school. Drenched in sweat, she still finds no one. Around the same time, Young-ju is loading new plushies into the claw machine when he notices a few girls walking past in school uniforms. Something clicks. Earlier that day, he had run into Min-seo on his bike. Putting it together with Ji-won and Ki-joon's desperate hunt for the writer of that note, he realizes something is very wrong. He immediately calls Ji-won and tells her where he last saw Min-seo. Ji-won asks him to find Min-seo and keep her there until she and Ki-joon can arrive. Min-seo, meanwhile, is lost in her own memories. While caring for Bong-chun's plants, she had accidentally broken an expensive orchid pot. Bong-chun tore into her, then demanded she sell everything she owned to pay him back. He even called a contact right in front of her to threaten her, saying if she didn't pay up, she would be looking at 3 years in prison. Coming from a modest family, she had no money to cover the damage, and even with her own world collapsing, she was kind enough to help an elderly recycling collector push her cart up a hill. Unfortunately, in this brutal world, kindness doesn't put food on the table. Every night, Bong-chun's threatening texts started flooding in. With nowhere left to turn, she slowly began thinking about ending it all. As night falls, Chae-rin finally jumps in her car and heads to the police station to file a report. Ji-won and Ki-joon hail a cab and race toward Min-seo as fast as the wheels can carry them. Until they arrive, the burden of stalling and saving her falls on Young-ju, who is famously bad with words. Yet somehow, with his clumsy, awkward sentences, he manages to ease her fear. By the time Ji-won runs up and throws her arms around her friend, both girls are sobbing. Whether it is a friendship or just a thing you own, you usually realize how precious it is at 2 moments. When you first get it and when you nearly lose it. Sadly, while Young-ju could save Ji-won's friend, he can't save the friendship between himself and Ki-joon. When Ki-joon tries to approach him, Young-ju turns his back without a word and walks off. A long night holds joy for some and pain for others. Chae-rin and the police arrive on the scene soon after. Relieved to learn Min-seo is safe, the officers head out. Chae-rin stays behind to take her home, and the storm finally settles. Ji-won and Ki-joon catch a bus back. The usually lively Ji-won doesn't say a single word the entire ride. Ki-joon notices the wound on her leg and worries. But for her, the wound on her body is nothing compared to the wound in her heart. She cannot imagine what Min-seo must have gone through to even think about giving up on life. Thankfully, Young-ju had been there to help. Speaking of him, Ji-won gently asks Ki-joon what kind of falling out the two of them had. He brushes the question aside. The memory of how he and his best friend turned on each other still cuts deep. Back home, Chae-rin listens to Min-seo recount everything, then promises to confront Bong-chun herself, telling her not to worry. About now, the long-forgotten Jong-bok finally tracks Min-seo down. Bursting with excitement, he calls Ki-joon to give him an update. Ki-joon suddenly remembers he completely ditched his best friend, and immediately feels awful. Worse still, Jong-bok lurking nearby gets spotted by Chae-rin and Min-seo. Caught off guard, he panics, then hangs up to scold Ki-joon. Afterward, Jong-bok is too scared to take even a single step away. He keeps cursing Ki-joon out as Ki-joon walks Ji-won home. Toward this childhood friend of his, there is a feeling Ki-joon can't quite put into words. The next day, Young-ju's hatred for Mi-hee starts to come into focus. While the family eats breakfast, the TV airs a segment about Mi-hee receiving an award. Jung Chul-ju and Soon-ja quickly try to comfort Young-ju, telling him not to dwell on it, that justice will come once they win their lawsuit. Young-ju slips into a memory. From the looks of it, years ago, Chul-ju was involved in some kind of incident connected to Mi-hee, one that left him with permanent injuries. Mi-hee, on screen, dabbed at fake tears. Most likely she dodged responsibility, and that is why Young-ju despises her. The memory ends, and he stops eating and walks out the door. Mi-hee's smashed-up car sits silently at the school gate, now a public spectacle. Kang-hoon happens to bump into Young-ju near a scenic path and casually asks why he wrecked the car. That is when Young-ju realizes he has been caught. But being who he is, he doesn't beg Kang-hoon to keep quiet. He simply walks away. At school, Ki-joon meets Ji-won and tries to check on the cut on her leg. Just then, she warmly greets Young-ju as he passes by, and even offers to treat him to a meal as thanks. Ki-joon, caught between the two of them, feels both embarrassed and oddly left out. The teachers have just finished a meeting. Vice Principal Han Soo, after hearing about Min-seo, makes a remark that she is far too fragile. Chae-rin counters that adults shouldn't expect a child to have an adult's endurance. Mi-hee, walking by, overhears the whole thing. Surprisingly, she sides with Chae-rin and says proper care must be arranged for Min-seo going forward. What Chae-rin says next? puts the whole room on edge. She wants to pursue the case against Bong Chun for threatening Minso and extorting her. Minso's school and internship are both owned by the same conglomerate. Blowing this story open would put serious pressure on Mi-hee. To everyone's surprise, Mi-hee agrees to let Chae-rin investigate deeper. But in reality, she is only agreeing to build a good public image. Back in her own office, she lets her anger loose on the person who smashed her car. She warns that if the culprit isn't found within 24 hours, she will press criminal charges. For any student, that kind of mark would follow them for life. In her office, Mi-hee shows an even uglier side. She privately despises Chae-rin for stirring up trouble. Just then Bong Chun calls in trying to plead his case, and gets chewed out instead. As it turns out, Bong Chun is Mi-hee's younger brother. Afterward, Chae-rin goes to the class representative and urges anyone responsible for the car to come forward and confess. While she is speaking, Young-ju receives a video on his phone, a clear video of him throwing the flower pot. The one who filmed it is So-young, the same girl who said she wanted to date him. After class, the pressure forces Young-ju to agree to date So-young. Her reason for doing all this is simple. She wants to use him to scare off the boys who keep harassing her. That night, So-young spots a girl in a giant mascot suit working a street promotion. Squinting, she realizes it is her classmate Eunbi. Eunbi has been pushing hard to become a trainee, but she failed the audition and hasn't told anyone. Even caught working a humiliating job, she stubbornly claims she is just covering a shift for a friend. So-young, smart enough not to buy it, tells her she should come back to class soon, so she at least has a real skill to fall back on. The next day, So-young brings her smarts to bear. She posts a photo of her and Young-ju together on social media, scaring off her harassers in one swift move. With that taken care of, she starts recruiting members for the carpentry club, fully focused now on winning the national competition. Ji-won and Ki-joon, both desperate for money, eagerly raise their hands to join. Before he can sit down to hash out the club details, Ki-joon, Jong-bak, and Ji-won are pulled aside by Han-soo. The day Mi-hee's car was destroyed, the three of them had been off campus looking for Min-so, which made them prime suspects. Han-soo pulls out a Taekwondo charm that was found on the rooftop. Since Ki-joon owns the same kind of charm, the school assumes the one on the roof is his. Just like that, he is wrongly pegged as the culprit and immediately hit with expulsion. Ji-won walks back to class in a daze. She had already told Han-soo that on the day the car was damaged, she was with Ki-joon the whole time. But Han-soo just wanted a quick conviction, so he could report back to Mi-hee, and he refused to listen. News that Ki-joon was about to be expelled spreads quickly from her, and on the way home from school, plenty of classmates are buzzing about it. Word reaches Young-ju too, learning that Ki-joon was taking the blame for something he didn't do. His face turns dark. That night, Young-ju intercepts Ki-joon on his way home, and demands to know why he didn't report him. Ki-joon dodges the question and asks instead what kind of grudge Young-ju has against Mi-hee. Young-ju refuses to answer directly. He tells Ki-joon flatly that tomorrow he will confess everything himself, and that he owes Ki-joon nothing. Ki-joon's pushing only makes things worse. The dangerous-looking guy grabs him by the collar and tells the criminal to mind his own business. At this age, feelings get amplified, whether it's love or hate. When Young-ju gets home and sees the crutches next to Chul-ju, the memories come flooding back. Right after Chul-ju was injured, Mi-hee had pretended she would take full responsibility. Then, once the worst of the danger had passed, the cold-hearted woman started shifting blame and dodging accountability entirely. She even sneered that Soon-ja was clinging to her like a madwoman. Young-ju had nearly thrown a punch at her right then and there. Later, he ran into Mi-hee again at school. The anger flared back up, and that is how the flower pot ended up on her car. Back in the present, Young-ju texts So-young to tell her he is dropping out and can't keep pretending to be her boyfriend. So-young reads the message, and her mind starts racing with possibilities. Back at Ki-joon's house, he finds Ji-won waiting for him. She asks about the Taekwondo charm on the rooftop. To protect Young-ju, Ki-joon plays dumb. Ji-won won't drop it and pushes him to go to the office tomorrow morning and explain everything. Ki-joon, exhausted, pretends he needs to change clothes hoping she'll leave, but she stays calm. Only after she has said everything she came to say does she finally walk out. As she crosses the yard, Dong-soo calls her back. He had once given her a set of carpentry tools, which she returned after a fight with Ki-joon. Now he gives them back to her, this time carved with her own name. The memories rush back, and she feels a wave of nostalgia. Once she gets home, she still can't shake the mood. There are eviction notices plastered all over Ki-joon's house, which means the place has been forcibly auctioned off. Finally, she understands why he has been hustling so hard to earn money lately. Then her father fills her in on Ki-joon's family situation. Apparently, Ki-joon's dad got into some kind of trouble, racked up huge debts, and since he couldn't pay them off, the court ordered the house seized and sold. Ji-won's heart sinks. The next day, Kang-hoon spots Young-ju standing right in front of Mi-hee's car and teases him that he must be having regrets and is here to confess. To Kang-hoon's surprise, Young-ju admits it outright. Kang-hoon scrambles to talk him out of doing anything rash. Mi-hee was preparing to file criminal charges against whoever damaged the car. He promises to keep his mouth shut no matter what, but Young-ju doesn't budge, and worry flashes across Kang-hoon's face. What comes next stuns Young-ju. Someone else has stepped up to take the blame out of nowhere. Jae-hee tells Han-soo that she accidentally knocked the flower pot off the rooftop. Han-soo doesn't seem to buy it. Just as Young-ju is about to march in and clear Jae-hee's name, So-young pulls him back. Turns out So-young is the one who convinced Jae-hee to take the fall. If Young-ju confessed, he wouldn't only be expelled, but also marked as a juvenile offender. Jae-hee, as a model student with multiple honors, would not face anywhere near the same penalty. So-young is confident an honor student like Jae-hee will get off easy. She also lets Young-ju know that Jae-hee has been dragged into the carpentry club, and if he wants to return the favor, he should join too. Caught in her web, Young-ju realizes these top students are sneakier than he thought. The story flashes back. So-young had figured out Jae-hee's weak spot. Her academic record was fake, and Han-soo had been covering for her. So-young used that as leverage to get her to confess. Her theory is quickly proven. After Han-soo reports to Mi-hee that Jae-hee was responsible, Mi-hee chooses to settle the matter quietly and have the car removed. Clearly, Jae-hee's family has serious connections. One storm fades and another rolls in. Their classmate Eun-bi had been an idol trainee for a while, but she was actually eliminated. To save face, she hadn't told anyone in class, and instead worked part-time jobs to keep up appearances with designer goods. But the truth never stays hidden forever. Some classmates who never liked her start putting the pieces together. They notice Eun-bi has been missing from any of the trainee group's public appearances lately. Whispers spread that she has been cut and shunned. Watching this all play out, So-young feels sick inside. Someone else feeling miserable right now is Kang-hoon. But for him it has nothing to do with Eun-bi. It has to do with overtime. Between So-young, Ji-won, Ki-joon, Jae-hee, and Jae-hee's twin brother Jae-hyuk, the carpentry club finally has enough members to officially form. Kang-hoon is already drowning in extra responsibilities when Young-ju walks in to join. Hearing that Young-ju too is signing up for the club, Kang-hoon nearly chokes. He muses that with Young-ju's looks, joining a gang would have made a lot more sense than picking up carpentry. There's that old saying about not showing off your knife skills in front of a master swordsman, and Kang-hoon is convinced bringing this unreliable bunch into the trade will only embarrass the whole craft and bring down the wrath of the patron saint of carpentry himself. The scene shifts to a school field trip. Young-ju's intimidating face still scares off classmates, and So-young is still hated for being too smart. Now that the two of them are fake dating, the other kids are not only relaxed, but the two of them are starting to enjoy each other's company too. Young-ju is even thoughtful enough to shield So-young from the bright sun. She hides a smile, and her feelings for him grow a little deeper. That is exactly when disaster strikes. Eun-bi, dressed in a giant panda mascot suit, dancing for cash, runs straight into her classmates. They drag her into a group photo, but in the scuffle she falls. The panda head pops off, and her face is exposed. Now things are bad. Everyone had still assumed she was a successful trainee. Humiliated, Eun-bi sprints off and runs straight into So-young, the one person who had already figured out the truth. Their eyes meet, and Eun-bi takes another emotional hit before bolting even faster. That night Ji-won gets home and hears her older sister, an idol fan, gossiping about exactly that. Apparently Eun-bi has been dropped and is no longer a trainee. Hearing this, Ji-won starts to worry about her friend who cares so much about face. Meanwhile, somehow Eun-bi has found her way to So-young, the so-called brain of the school, asking for advice. The news of her elimination is already spreading. She wants to talk over whether it would be better to have the company release a statement saying she withdrew voluntarily or to just drop out of school altogether. So-young's response is brutally simple. The elimination is a fact. She tells Eun-bi to face it head-on and just keep walking her path. Eun-bi never expected such a blunt approach, especially one that didn't care about her pride at all. Deflated, she leaves So-young behind and walks away. The next day, Eun-bi forces herself back to school despite enormous pressure, and a conflict explodes. In a design class, the teacher asks the students to disassemble and critique their floor plan drawings. Eun-bi had been so busy with her side jobs that she hadn't finished hers. The teacher calls So-young over to fix it on the spot. Eun-bi sees this as So-young deliberately showing her up. When the teacher next holds up So-young's floor plan as a model, Eun-bi snaps. To get back at her, she invents a story on the spot saying So-young grew up in an orphanage. It is a direct attack on her background. So-young takes a few seconds to compose herself, then calmly tells the class she did grow up in an orphanage. The room is shocked into silence. After class, even classmates who weren't particularly close to her pile on Eun-bi, calling her out for going too far and rubbing salt into someone else's wound. The fallout is too much for Eun-bi to handle, and she runs away. In carpentry club, bespectacled Jae-hyuk, Jae-hee's twin brother, keeps making cracks about So-young being an orphan. The twins clearly aren't happy that she now knows about their academic fraud. If not for Jae-hee stepping in, Young-ju would have decked Jae-hyuk. So-young, on the other hand, looks remarkably composed. Just then she gets a text from Eun-bi's mom. Frantic that her daughter has stopped going to school and disappeared, So-young rushes to the amusement park, the place Eun-bi always went when she was upset, and sure enough, she finds her there. The screen pulls back to a year ago, when these two were closer than words could describe. Orphan or future idol, none of it had mattered to their friendship. Back in the present, So-young still has no idea how to comfort anyone. She borrows the so-called tough love approach of comedian Bong Soo to help guide Eun-bi through life not going her way. The two pour out everything they've been holding in. Their friendship doesn't snap back to what it used to be, but it softens a lot. Eun-bi's mood is no longer as erratic. Around this moment, 4 small secrets slowly come to light. 1. Mi-hee is Jae-hyuk's aunt, which explains why she's been protecting the twins so hard. 2. Kam-hoon has a daughter to take care of, which is why he is always rushing to clock out and pick her up. 3. So-young actually met Young-ju 2 months ago. He had come to the orphanage where she lived as a volunteer. The scary-looking boy with the soft heart left a strong impression on her. And 4. Jong-bok keeps teasing Ki-joon and Ji-won about how something is clearly going on between them, and Ji-won overhears. The teasing pulls her back to a memory. When they were little, Ki-joon used to get the same kind of teasing. Back then, he had sworn he would never date a girl like her. Ji-won had overheard him say it, and in a fit of impulse, she punched him until he cried. Then she went home and cried too. Years later, Ji-won has had time to look at her own feelings, and she decides to do something bold tonight. She runs straight to Ki-joon, tells him exactly how she feels, and says she wants to try again. Ki-joon stares at the lively girl standing in front of him and gulps. Ki-joon and Ji-won really were childhood sweethearts in the truest sense. Little Ji-won loved working with wood, and she once made him a small wooden gift covered in words about how much she liked him. Back then, Ki-joon had been preparing a return gift, but plans changed before he could give it to her. On the very day he was supposed to give it, classmates teased the timid Ki-joon for liking Ji-won. Being just a kid, the only way he could think to deny the rumors was by putting her down. He made her cry, then got punched for it, and the gift in his backpack never made it to her. Whether this misunderstanding will ever get cleared up is another question entirely. Back in the present, when Ji-won says she wants to try again, Ki-joon panics. Does she mean trying the kiss again, or trying the punch again? When the truth comes out, it is a small letdown. What she wants to try again is doing woodworking with him the way they used to when they were kids. Later, Ji-won and the others will be competing in a national-level carpentry competition. Dong-soo carves out time to give the two of them a few lessons. Ki-joon is clumsy through the whole thing. Watching Ji-won move with such ease and skill, he can only admire her. She has always known what she wanted and run hard toward it. Ki-joon's words betray how lost he still feels about his own future. His dejection leaves her unsure how to comfort him. After the practice session, Ji-won is about to head home when Ki-joon sneaks after her. He claims he just needs to grab something from the convenience store and might as well walk with her. He ends up walking her all the way to the store closest to her place, insisting the item he needs is only sold there. The truth is, he doesn't want her walking alone in the dark, so he made the whole thing up to see her home. At this age, no one is particularly good at being honest about their feelings. Meanwhile, Youngju and So-young are making some progress of their own. Youngju can tell So-young has been overdoing it with the woodworking practice, and goes out of his way to buy her bandages. She is not the only one seeing a new side of someone. As they spend more time together, he sees just how driven and resilient she is. She is throwing herself at the carpentry competition for the prize money and the scholarship to college. For her, working twice as hard is the only way to even reach the starting line that other kids start from. Despite how hard her life has been, she has never blamed fate. Her personal dictionary only contains one phrase: try harder. The next day, So-young goes to find Kang-hoon to talk woodworking. She happens to bump into Ki-joon, who is at the office trying to get back the keychain charm that went missing on the rooftop. But Han-soo, still suspicious that Jae-hee's confession was fake, refuses to return the charm and says he plans to look into the case further. As Ki-joon walks out of the office empty-handed, So-young pulls him aside. She warns him to calm down. The case has been closed, so don't go stirring it up again. Ki-joon realizes she already knows the truth and that she's trying to protect Youngju, so he doesn't hold back. He tells her exactly why he wants the charm. It matters to Youngju, and now is the right time to return it. So-young looks at him, suspicious, sensing something between the lines. Then Kang-hoon announces the prompt for the upcoming woodworking competition. Each team of 2 must build a double-seat bench. As the teams get to work, Ji-won notices Ki-joon staring at Youngju and So-young's team. She thinks he still has feelings for So-young. In reality, his eyes are fixed only on Youngju. That evening, Ki-joon stops to buy red bean buns, Dong-su's favorite, and heads home. He finds Dong-su collapsed in the courtyard, clutching his chest. He rushes him to the hospital. Despite everything, he agrees to be Dong-su's legal guardian and signs off on the surgery. Around the same time, Ji-won shows up at Ki-joon's place. Seeing the red bean buns scattered across the floor, she immediately knows something is wrong. She calls Ki-joon, hears the news, and races straight to the hospital. Ki-joon's family was already in financial freefall, and now Dong-su has fallen ill on top of it. Thankfully, the surgery goes without major complications. In his loneliest moment, one girl came running for him. Hearing Dong-su is going to be okay, Ji-won teases Ki-joon that he is finally growing up, says a few comforting words, and leaves. Ki-joon washes up and is about to sleep when Ji-won comes back, carrying a bag. She had thoughtfully guessed that he must have rushed out in a panic without any of his daily essentials, so she brought them for him. He chases after her to thank her, all the words on his tongue collapsing into a simple thank you. Back in the hospital room, he opens the bag and freezes. She has brought him a change of clothes from her dad's closet. Her dad's taste is, let's just say, eccentric, and Ki-joon feels his soul leave his body. Around the same time, there is another girl in a pit of her own. Eunbi had been a trainee with hopes of debuting, only to get eliminated and laughed at by her classmates. Refusing to give up, she starts live streaming, clearly aiming to reinvent herself as an online personality. But because she spent way too much during her trainee days, she's buried in debt. The creditors burst in her livestream demanding payment. Terrified that her image is collapsing, Eunbi shuts down the stream. Just then, the ever-loyal Jongbok, who has long had a crush on her, finds her, but she doesn't want his pity. If anything, she is furious that he saw her at her worst, and she shoves him away. The next day, Jongbok keeps trailing her, asking about the debt. Eunbi snaps and explains that as a trainee she had to cover her own living expenses, on top of the designer goods she felt pressured to keep up with. Jongbok suggests she sell some of the luxury items. But at this age, both boys and girls cling hard to their pride, and she refuses outright. She keeps chasing every fast cash side hustle she can find. Compared to her, Ji-won is much more mature. After school, she heads straight to the hospital with Ki-joon to visit Dong-su. The old man is a little embarrassed that, at his age, he ends up needing care from a couple of teenagers. The 3 of them laugh and joke together. The shadow of the surgery has passed, and they have made it through the darkest stretch as a small family. That evening, So-young meets up with Eunbi and bluntly tells her to start selling her luxury goods to pay her debts. Turns out Jongbok had asked her to talk some sense into Eunbi. In all the world, only So-young can really get through to her. Eunbi feels the weight of Jongbok's care and quietly smiles. That night, she calls Jongbok out. He shows up expecting another tongue lashing, but instead she compliments him, saying he is handsome. She makes a decision then and there to take his advice and sell off her stuff, to stop relying on superficial things and start working on herself. Meanwhile, Dong-su's illness has forced Ki-joon to grow up in a hurry. Watching the old man wince at the hospital bills, Ki-joon quietly gathers up the valuables at home to sell, hoping to take some of the burden off his shoulders. The next day, day, So-young picks up on something. The twins have been mysteriously absent from class. Based on what she knows about them, she has a bold guess. She makes an excuse to go to the bathroom and slips into the woodworking classroom. Sure enough, Kang-hoon is there giving the twins private tutoring. As Mi-hee's niece and nephew, the twins enjoy privileges most kids can't even imagine. So-young has been pushing herself to her limits, day and night, for first place. She cannot accept this kind of double standard. She tells Kang-hoon point blank that if he doesn't stop, she will go to the Blue House and the Department of Education to report it. With no other choice, Kang-hoon goes to Han-soo to report that he can't keep giving the tutoring. Han-soo not only mocks him for being scared by a student, but also pushes him to butter up one of the judges of the upcoming competition. Han-soo lets slip that one of the judges happens to be Kang-hoon's senior from college. Working under someone you can't refuse without consequences, and the pressure leaves Kang-hoon nearly suffocating. In the end, he caves and goes to meet with the judge to do Han-soo's dirty work for him. Then while picking up his daughter, an unexpected connection comes to light. Chae-rin, the homeroom teacher, is actually Kang-hoon's ex-wife. In her eyes, the Kang-hoon working at this school has been surprisingly responsible. He has changed a lot. If she knew he was off lobbying competition judges right now, she might not know what to think about him anymore. Time passes, and just before the competition there is one more special day, Youngju's birthday. Earlier, Ki-joon had told So-young that getting the charm back was actually about returning it to Youngju as a birthday gift. Hearing this, So-young gets an idea of her own. She buys him a pair of gloves to give as her own birthday present. On the day, Ki-joon is the first to wish Youngju a happy birthday, but the birthday boy isn't having it. Later, in carpentry class, the rift between them deepens. Ki-joon is too busy checking his phone for apartment listings to focus, and he nearly causes an accident that almost injures Ji-won, the girl Youngju is sweet on. Youngju loses it. Ki-joon, flustered, mumbles a quick apology and rushes off to view a house, leaving Ji-won puzzled. That evening, while she works her shift at the convenience store, she is still thinking about how strange he has been acting. Chul-ju stops by to buy bread, and chatting with him, she learns that today is Youngju's birthday, so she grabs a gift on the fly. About the same time, Youngju opens the gloves So-young left for him, and his heart warms a little. He used to scrape up his hands all the time riding his bike, and he never imagined So-young had paid that much attention. But sadly, the carefully chosen gloves can't compete with the box of chocolates Ji-won grabs in a hurry. When Chul-ju brings him her gift, his happiness shoots through the roof. He carefully sends her a thank you text, but no reply ever comes. Meanwhile, Ji-won is hearing from Jong-bok about Ki-joon secretly looking for a place to live, and she runs to the hospital to ask about it. Dong-soo is in the middle of ripping into Ki-joon for skipping out on his studies to deal with adult problems. As Ki-joon walks Ji-won home, she summons every ounce of courage she has and drops a sentence that stops him in his tracks. She invites him to come live at her house, since there is a spare room. But Ki-joon stubbornly only says he will think about it. Back at his house, another buyer comes by to look at the place. The pressure of moving is becoming unbearable. The next morning at school, Ji-won runs into Youngju and casually asks how the chocolates were. From the look on his face, he hasn't actually eaten them, but is saving them. The dream of school romance, really. At Carpentry Club, Youngju hears that Ki-joon's grandfather is sick, and that explains why he has been showing up late and skipping. Concern flashes across his face. Just then Ki-joon arrives. Having just finished discharging Dong-soo from the hospital, he tells Ji-won that Dong-soo has found a place to live. I was already bracing myself for the sweet cohabitation plot to dissolve into thin air, but the very next second comes a sweet little plot twist. The place Dong-soo found is Ji-won's parents' house. She had been given a heads up, and she even ran out to buy a brand new pink dress to welcome Ki-joon. He, completely caught off guard, mutters to himself that his innocence is officially in danger. Across town, Kang-hoon is working at a construction site when he runs into someone from his past, Chul-ju, now in a wheelchair. Asking around, Kang-hoon learns that after he had moved on from the site, Chul-ju had fallen from a height while working. The fall wasn't critical at the time, but the after effects slowly piled up and eventually impaired his ability to walk. That makes it hard to prove his injuries came from that specific accident. The lawsuit has been dragging on, without resolution. Kang-hoon listens, deeply uncomfortable. The construction site they had worked worked on and the school he now teaches at both belong to the same conglomerate. Chul-ju, surprisingly upbeat, openly talks about his younger brother. Kang-hoon never imagined that the stubborn young Ju was that little brother. After a long catch-up, Chul-ju finds his courage and asks Kang-hoon to testify on his behalf to confirm that the safety measures at the site weren't up to standard. Kang-hoon tells him that his Astrumber, next says thels was why testimony wouldn't actually hold any weight. Their conversation only brushes lightly over the fact that Kang-hoon had to leave the site for reasons outside his control. Why his testimony wouldn't count, and what those reasons were, are not yet spelled out. That night Ji-won goes to reassure Ki-joon, telling him not to feel awkward about living with them. The way she handles it protects his pride beautifully. When the two say goodnight, she suddenly feels like she just said goodnight to a boyfriend. Her face goes red, and she scurries off. The unusual roommate experiences don't stop there. She will pick up his boxers blown off the line by the wind. He will catch her in a sheet mask. He will be caught admiring his own face on the rooftop. She will get caught playing around with her sister's underwear. The image each of them had of the other completely shatters. Another pair has a more complicated situation. So-young likes Young-ju, but Young-ju still believes she really just wants the fake dating arrangement. His mind is entirely on Ji-won. Every time the energetic girl crosses his thoughts, the cold-faced boy lets a sweet little smile slip. Back home, Young-ju chats with Chul-ju. Hearing that Kang-hoon used to be a caring boss, his impression of the unreliable man begins to shift. The next day, Kang-hoon meets Young-ju, and, for Chul-ju's sake, takes more interest in this stubborn kid. He tells Young-ju to come to him if anything ever comes up. Another side of this man is starting to surface. The next scene captures exactly what makes teenage love so painful. It's the whole "you love me, I love him, he doesn't love me" dilemma. I mentioned last time, Ji-won looks at Ki-joon, Young-ju looks at Ji-won, So-young looks at Young-ju. Time stands still. That evening Young-ju continues his fake boyfriend duties and walks So-young to the bus stop. The competition is tomorrow, and he gives her some encouragement before leaving. Eunbi, who now knows the dating is fake, catches the scene and immediately teases So-young, accusing her of catching real feelings. There was clearly a bus that came and went, but So-young didn't take it. She wanted to spend a little more time with Young-ju. Seeing her about to lose it, Eunbi quickly pulls out a giant lollipop and wishes her first place tomorrow. Beyond the prize, there's an unspoken wish in that gift. That just like sweet candy in a bitter life, So-young will find sweetness in the hard times too. The next day, Eunbi's wish does not come true. As So-young arrives at the competition, she sees Mi-hee escorting Jae-hee and Jae-hyuk to the venue. Up until now she only knew the twins came from a powerful family. Now she sees they are tied directly to Mi-hee. Knowing she will be competing against kids from that level of privilege, anxiety creeps in. The competition begins, and So-young can't focus. She keeps glancing over at the twins, and even injures herself in the process. Time flies, and before she knows it, the event is over. Seeing Mi-hee back again, and watching even the judges go up to greet her, the bad feeling in So-young's gut only grows stronger. Kang-hoon is equally confused. He had quietly worked to keep his senior judge away from Mi-hee, but somehow, the two still managed to meet. In the end, Ki-joon and Ji-won made assembly mistakes and don't receive any trophy. So-young and Young-ju have the highest level of craftsmanship of the entire field, but only walk away with third place. First place goes, predictably, to the twins. As Young-ju collects his award, he sees Mi-hee, the judges, and Kang-hoon laughing together. Unable to hold back, he confronts Kang-hoon privately and calls him scum, just like Mi-hee. Kang-hoon has no good way to explain himself and takes the hit. Just then, one of the judges comes up to Young-ju with a meaningful little smile. It seems the outcome of this competition may not be final. That night, the two groups react in completely different ways to losing the championship. Ji-won and Ki-joon, more carefree, brush off the loss. Even though Ki-joon is desperate for money, this particular defeat doesn't hit him too hard. He can still laugh and joke with Ji-won. For So-young, it's a different story. They're both broke, but on completely different levels. Without the scholarship attached to first place, she has no way to pay her tuition. The ordinary life she dreams of slips that much further out of reach. The next morning the school announces the results. The twins took first. So-young and Young-ju got third. The students are buzzing, joking that the school could just keep recycling the same announcement and only change the names of the prizes. The twins always win first. Even a fool could see something is off. About this same time, trouble lands at Kang-hoon's feet. Earlier, Han-soo had told him to soften up the senior judge for special treatment. The senior judge, an upright man, had agreed. At first, Kang-hoon then made up excuses to keep the senior from meeting Han-soo, but in the end, the senior met Han-soo anyway. Now that Han-soo knows what Kang-hoon was doing, he will not let it slide. The visit is meant as a warning, with a heavy dose of intimidation. Whether more trouble is coming his way remains to be seen. Meanwhile, Ji-won wants to take home the bench she made with Ki-joon for the competition. It's a precious memento between them. Poor Young-ju, once again playing background character, seeing her struggle with it, he immediately offers up his scooter to haul the bench for her. The night is going well, and Ji-won finally works up the courage to confess. She admits that the day Young-ju transferred to their school and tore his pants, the glue was hers. He is embarrassed and angry all at once. So, the person who humiliated him in front of his crush turns out to be the very same girl he ended up crushing on. He pretends to be angry, demanding she take responsibility for his backside. She frantically apologizes, rubbing her hands together in begging. After the sweet moment, the writer goes for the gut punch. Young-ju arrives at Ji-won's front door, gathering up his nerve, looking like he is about to say something. Just then the door opens, and Ki-joon, who is now living with Ji-won, walks out. The three of them lock eyes. This time it's bad. Young-ju's jaw dropped, with no idea why this guy was at his crush's house. Any speech he had prepared fell apart, and he excused himself in a hurry. Ki-joon helps Ji-won haul the bench up to the rooftop. Ji-won is in distress, with no idea how to explain herself to Young-ju. Out of habit, she still puts Ki-joon's feelings first and hides his family's financial situation from Young-ju. Ki-joon, perfectly calm, tells her to just tell Young-ju the truth. Everything happening at home has forced him to grow up fast in a short amount of time. On the other end, So-young, having missed the prize money from the competition, now pours her focus into the college entrance exam. She finds a tutoring center where she can work and study at the same time. As fate would have it, the teacher there happens to be Ji-won's mother. They don't know each other yet, but their lives are already quietly tangled. The next day, Ji-won goes to find Young-ju to explain about her living arrangement with Ki-joon. Young-ju cuts her off before she can finish. He has guessed Ki-joon must have his own reasons, and shifts the conversation toward her. At the carpentry competition, a judge named Jung-min had pulled Young-ju aside. Jung-min's company is launching a community program. They want to recruit 10 teams of high school students to help residents in housing developments with carpentry projects. The company gets a positive image, the students get paid, a win all around. Ji-won lights up at the idea and starts rallying classmates to join. When Young-ju goes to invite So-young, he finds out she is already enrolled in the tutoring center for college prep. He doesn't push and respects her decision. The change in routine means So-young and Young-ju end up walking the same way home for the first time. She notices the small restaurant his family runs, and something flickers behind her eyes. What she is thinking, no one knows. That evening, Young-ju helps Chul-ju and his mother clean up the restaurant. He hears that on Monday they have a large bulk order coming in, which would be a meaningful sum for the family. Monday is also the day Chul-ju has a court appearance, so Young-ju offers to go in his mother's place since she will be too busy. The next day, Young-ju and Ji-won go to Chae-rin to register their off-campus carpentry project. Chae-rin assigns Kang-hoon to supervise them. Young-ju's face immediately changes, and he asks for someone else. Later he tells Ji-won that he suspects Kang-hoon was involved with the twins and the corrupt prize at the competition. Ji-won can't help scolding him for being too quick to judge. Over on Chae-rin's side, she hears the whole story from Kang-hoon. His complaint that the school is going too far brings back a memory. Years ago, Kang-hoon had said the same thing about the construction company that belonged to the same conglomerate as the school. Kang-hoon may not seem reliable, but at heart he has stronger principles than most. He has been burned and tripped up plenty of times. He has lost his faith in the world and has decided to stop sticking his neck out. Chae-rin can't bear to see a kind man like him go cold, so she volunteers to go talk to stubborn Young-ju herself. At lunchtime, Eunbi comes over to tease Young-ju. Even though she knows the relationship between him and So-young is fake, she insists on calling him So-young's boyfriend in front of everyone. So-young can't stop smiling. Young-ju, normally stoic, is uncomfortable with the attention, but Eunbi is having a blast. Everyone loves seeing a cold person fluster. The contrast is just too cute. About then the twins also enter the cafeteria. The dynamic between them is strange. The brother soaks in his privilege, while the sister feels guilty about it. Their worldviews are pulling them apart. Cut to class. Chae-rin announces the off-campus carpentry project. Young-ju organized and tells anyone interested to sign up with him directly. Jae-hee gathers her courage and tries to sign up, but by the time the final spot is up for grabs, Ki-joon has already claimed it. Given the bad blood between Young-ju and Ki-joon, Young-ju refuses to let him in. The team roster ends the day unfinished. After class, Young-ju continues his fake boyfriend duties and walks So-young to her tutoring center. Halfway there, her stomach lets out a thunderous growl. The pretty girl wishes she could vanish on the spot. He doesn't tease her. He invites her to his family's restaurant for a meal. So-young is stunned. For her, this feels like a real date. When Chul-ju sees her, he forces a smile and quietly marvels at how grown up his little brother is. The cozy scene gets shattered fast. Ji-won walks into the restaurant too, and the complicated dynamic between the three of them makes the air feel strange. Ji-won, oblivious as always, is terrified she might be third-wheeling on a real date. Young-ju blurts out that it's nothing, which So-young, of course, catches. Before So-young can react, Young-ju's mom unleashes another wave. She has misread Ji-won's chocolate gift as a sign that Ji-won is her son's girlfriend, and she ladles out a giant extra portion of noodles just for her. The atmosphere is now seriously tense. So-young's reaction is unexpected. She calmly announces that she is the real girlfriend. She even promises she will come by the shop with Young-ju more often. Then she makes an excuse about a part-time shift and leaves. The tension at the restaurant doesn't dissolve. Ji-won later tells Young-ju that So-young is something else. Young-ju, afraid of losing his shot with Ji-won, holds back from explaining that he and So-young aren't actually dating. Then Ji-won gets to her real purpose. She wants him to set aside the personal grudge and let Ki-joon join the carpentry project. He would say yes to almost anything she asked, but on this one, he refuses to bend. That night, unable to talk, Young-ju around, Ji-won goes to encourage Ki-joon. She doesn't want him to give up on the project. She keeps reminding him to keep job hunting and building his skills during this period, nagging like an old auntie. The next day, Ki-joon's class gets another assignment. The teacher tells the students to go out and photograph specific buildings and turn them into reports. Most students plan to take the photos quickly and then sightsee in the area. Throughout the planning, Young-ju keeps tuning his ears toward Ji-won, trying to figure out which building she will choose so he can follow her. So-young, once again, notices him fixating on Ji-won, and the strange ache in her chest grows. After school, So-young hesitates, wondering whether she should make a move to win Young-ju over. Just then, Jae-hee comes up to him and asks to join the off-campus carpentry project. In the course of that conversation, Young-ju realizes he completely misread Kang-hoon. Kang-hoon was not the one helping the twins cheat their way to first. He had actively tried to sabotage the rigging and offended the school in the process. Guilt washes over Young-ju. That night, while Eunbi and Jongbok are on a sort of date, they run into trouble. Jongbok's girlfriend from last year, Da-hee, has dropped out of school. Two of Da-hee's friends spot Jongbok chatting happily with Eunbi and snap at him, blaming him for Da-hee leaving school. Confused, Jongbok chases the girls down to explain. From his side, Da-hee had stopped responding to his texts and disappeared. The friends don't buy it and still believe he caused her family to ground her. Jongbok, lost, walks back to Eunbi. She sees how shaken he is and asks what his deal with the ex actually is. He hesitates, then slowly asks if she and he are still just in that vague in-between stage. The two fall silent. The next day, Ji-won is getting ready to head out and take photos for her report. She accidentally cuts her hand while looking for a tool, and her mom rips into her. Her mother doesn't want her doing rough carpentry work where she keeps hurting herself. But out of worry, the words come out as criticism, telling her she has no talent for carpentry and should give up. That hits a nerve. Ji-won's passion is the one thing she cherishes most, and she storms out. Ki-joon, who saw the whole thing, gets worried. He grabs the measuring tape she left behind and chases her bus down. Once he hands over the tool, he refuses to leave, instead plopping down beside her on the bus and falling fast asleep. Ji-won realizes he is worried about her and finally cracks a smile. What follows is so funny it hurts. While she is taking a photo of a building, Ki-joon accidentally pulls her into a hug. The sudden contact sends both of them into a panic, scrambling like headless chickens. The pair of bickering buddies just keeps running into one accident after another. At lunch, Ki-joon teases her to treat him to a meal. She does, but it's instant noodles. She explains that eating the simplest food in the best scenery is its own kind of romance. He snaps back that they are starving, and there is nothing romantic about going hungry. Just then, Young-ju calls Ji-won to ask if she wants to go take photos together. Hearing she is already out with Ki-joon, regret washes over him for being too slow. Ji-won catches the silence on the other end and realizes she just said the wrong thing, but her attention quickly gets pulled back to the boy she has a crush on. In the middle of their chatter, she notices Ki-joon doesn't even know what they came here to photograph. He just tagged along. This only confirms her suspicion that he came just to be near her. On the bus ride home, Ji-won drifts off to sleep against Ki-joon's shoulder. Sleep is contagious. Soon he is also asleep, the two of them leaning into each other until the last stop. They had clearly both woken up, but neither dares move, afraid the other will notice. Only when the driver comes back to chase them out do they finally stop pretending and scramble off the bus. That same night, alongside all this sweetness, something far more dangerous unfolds. Jae-hyuk happens to see So-young's chat history on Jae-hee's phone. He impersonates his sister to fish for more information from So-young. Putting the pieces together, he arrives at a wild conclusion. The next day, he tells Mi-hee that So-young was the one who orchestrated Jae-hee's confession over the flower pot. The only people So-young would protect at that level were Eun-bi or Young-ju, and given Young-ju had already been the prime suspect when the pot fell, the dots connect. Then Mi-hee hears Young-ju's name again from another direction. When Young-ju had gone to court with Chul-ju, Bong-chun spotted him there. He immediately reported to Mi-hee that one of their students was helping Chul-ju's family. Once Bong-chun reads off Young-ju's name from his name tag, Mi-hee finally remembers her old grudge with this family. Young-ju barely walks back into school before Mi-hee summons him to her office. She immediately holds up the missing keychain charm from the rooftop and asks if it is his. The look on his face turns grave. Then the dangerous woman springs into action. She goes to her enforcer Han-soo and tells him to find an excuse to expel Young-ju. Watching them work in such smooth sync, it is obvious this isn't their first dirty maneuver together. Meanwhile, Seo-young notices something off when Jae-hyuk impersonates Jae-hee in their chats. She quickly finds Jae-hee in person to ask, and Jae-hee admits Jae-hyuk was behind it. She doesn't hide anything else either. She tells So-young about Bong-chun spotting Young-ju at the courthouse with Chul-ju. Based on what she knows about Mi-hee, Jae-hee predicts Young-ju will be the next target. So-young is stunned that Jae-hee would lay out her own family's secrets just to help her, and she is deeply moved. That night, So-young pulls Young-ju aside and warns him to lay low and not give Mi-hee anything to work with. Young-ju worries So-young will get dragged into his mess and tries to convince her to stop getting involved. The next day, Young-ju goes to Kang-hoon to apologize for misjudging him about the twins and the competition. Then he opens up about the real reason he smashed Mi-hee's car. Chul-ju had been hurt at a construction site, but the school covered for the construction company since both fell under the same conglomerate. He asks Kang-hoon to testify in court for Chul-ju. Without solid evidence soon, his brother's case will fall apart. Kang-hoon is silent for a long moment, then says he will think it over carefully. Some teenagers run headfirst into adult problems too soon. Others slow down and savor the small flutters only possible at this age. Every day, Jongbok dreams up new ways to help Eun-bi go viral again. The more time they spend together, the deeper her feelings grow. But she isn't ready to move from the in-between stage into something official, and ends up bolting again. That same afternoon, Ki-joon happens to walk past Young-ju's family restaurant. With Young-ju not there, he can finally sit down and eat in peace. Talking with Chul-ju, he hears for the first time about the injury and how it tied back to the school and the construction site. Only then does he understand the depth of Young-ju's hatred for Mi-hee. That night, Ki-joon picks up Dong-soo after his shift as a security guard. Dong-soo, talking about his beat-up old radio that sometimes works and sometimes doesn't, mentions something quietly profound. Things you care about, even when they break, don't just throw them away. Open them up and fix them carefully. That is how you keep them. Ki-joon can't help but think of the friendship he and Young-ju lost. The next day when Young-ju arrives at school, he happens to overhear something from a senior in Ki-joon's old Taekwondo club. Ki-joon hadn't quit the sport because he lost interest. He had quit because of an ankle injury that made it impossible to continue, and the club had let him go. Only now does Young-ju realize how badly he misjudged Ki-joon. Ki-joon never willingly walked away from the dream the three friends used to share. After school, Young-ju heads to the beach, and Ki-joon shows up too. Today is the birthday of Ho-sung, their friend who passed away. This time Ki-joon refuses to keep dodging. On this particular day, Young-ju's anger boils over, and the two of them get into a real fight. The memory comes flooding back. The three best friends had once gone to the beach to swim. With all of them exhausted, Ki-joon had suggested they race. Ho-sung was the one who never made it back to shore. Ki-joon held tight to Young-ju, wanting to go look for Ho-sung. At Ho-sung's funeral, Ki-joon never showed up. From that day on, Young-ju carried resentment and Ki-joon carried guilt, and the two best friends slowly drifted apart. The memory ends, and the two end up at the police station. Ki-joon's grandfather arrives first. Dong-soo sends Ki-joon outside to wait and tells Young-ju about everything Ki-joon has been through over the years. That night, Young-ju gets home and thinks back to something else. Not long ago he had run into Ho-sung's mother. All these years, she had been receiving gifts in Ho-sung's memory, and she had assumed they were from Young-ju, but Young-ju had nothing to do with them. What she said made him realize the only person who would have kept sending gifts year after year was Ki-joon. The fight at the beach hadn't been for nothing. The next day, Young-ju lets go of much of his old anger toward Ki-joon. As luck would have it, someone has just dropped out of the off-campus carpentry project, and Young-ju agrees to let Ki-joon join. The teachers and classmates are stunned to see the two former enemies finally working together. After school, Ji-won keeps marveling at the change in Young-ju. He is a little shy about the reconciliation and doesn't want to dwell on it. He changes the subject to the bench he helped her bring home before. Ji-won, on impulse, invites him over so he can sit on the rooftop and watch the gorgeous sunset. From the way Young-ju perches stiffly on the bench, you can tell exactly how nervous he is. In the face of love, the wolf cub turns into a puppy, but then he remembers Ki-joon also lives here. With full access to that rare rooftop view, jealousy washes over him, and he asks why Ki-joon, who comes from money, is now staying at her place. Ji-won doesn't answer. She would rather he ask Ki-joon himself, so the reconciliation can run all the way through. Just then, Young-ju notices Ji-won has been hiccuping the whole time, and he asks her to bring him a needle and thread. He plans to use the old trick of pricking the fingertip to stop hiccups, so the very first time he holds her hand, he is so nervous, he nearly starts hiccuping himself. Once her hiccups are gone, her bright smile completely wrecks him. The wolf cub has to bite down hard not to kiss her. The next day, Eunbi finds out So-young gave Young-ju a birthday gift. She teases her endlessly, accusing her of playing innocent. Eunbi even tells her Young-ju just walked by and watches So-young's eyes snap up to look around. Test passed. Eunbi is now completely convinced that the resident school fairy is in love. That same night, another fairy is also catching feelings. Ji-won's whole family is going on a trip, but she forgot to bring a key. With no other option, she shows up at Ki-joon's temporary place to crash for the night. As luck would have it, Dong-soo is on the night shift. Cue another scene of a lonely young man and woman left to themselves. While they work on the report, Ji-won keeps pressing Ki-joon to explain why he tagged along with her on that field trip the other day. The blunt boy stubbornly refuses to admit it was because he was worried about her. Time slips by, and the two of them accidentally fall asleep in the living room. Ji-won wakes first, but doesn't move. She just lies there, quietly watching him. When he wakes up too, he also stays still. The next day, after a restless night spent thinking about her, Ki-joon goes to school early, only to realize he forgot the USB drive with his assignment. He calls Ji-won and asks her to bring it. While digging for it, she finds two things. The first is the wooden heart she had carved for him as a confession when they were kids. The second is a heart Ki-joon had secretly carved with the words Ji-won, I like you too. And on top of that, what happens next pushes their delicate dynamic to a whole new level. While presenting the assignment, Ki-joon absent-mindedly leaves a photo of Ji-won in the slide deck. At this age, schoolwork, sports, and video games are nothing compared to the true love of teenagers. Gossip. Their classmates immediately tease them, saying the field trip was clearly just a date in disguise. Both of them turn red. Young-ju's expression tightens, and unease creeps in. That night, Ji-won secretly peeks at Ki-joon's laptop. She finds that less than half his photos are of the building he was supposed to shoot. The rest are pictures of her smiling like a flower. The meaning behind those photos couldn't be more obvious. Ji-won finally gathers her courage to make a decision. She asks Ki-joon to meet up and confesses. At the same moment, Youngju breaks things off with So-young. So-young, used to hiding her feelings, quietly accepted the suggestion. Sensing she wasn't okay, Youngju offered to take her to his family's restaurant. She, hating nothing more than being pitied, turned him down with a heavy heart. Ki-joon, meanwhile, is flustered. Before he can finish what he wants to say, Ji-won's father interrupts the moment. The result of the confession is suddenly a question, with no answer. Ji-won can't sleep all night, going back and forth in her head. Maybe what Ki-joon was about to say was that he sees her as a little sister. Or maybe he was about to say she's like a close little sister. She spirals, unable to figure out exactly what kind of little sister she is in his mind. The next day, Ji-won is terrified of running into him at school. Moving at sprint speed worthy of a track athlete, she does a 100-meter dash and disappears at the speed of light. Compared to her, So-young's emotions are running even deeper. While she is still sad, Eunbi suddenly shows up. Through chatting, So-young learns that one of the reasons Youngju broke up with her was that Eunbi had warned him. Eunbi had told him not to keep faking it, just for the sake of pretending, and to take a hard look at his own feelings. In one move, Eunbi had accidentally killed even the fake romance So-young had. Feeling guilty, Eunbi goes straight to find Youngju, emphasizing that her words were meant to push him toward actually dating So-young for real. She reminds him over and over to think back to all the moments he had spent with So-young. For the rest of that day, Eunbi drags Jongbok along to follow So-young around all day, searching for any signs of heartbreak. She insists So-young's hair is parted 3 centimeters off. She insists So-young is eating slower than usual. Even So-young using a blue pen instead of black is, in Eunbi's mind, a clear sign of emotional distress. Jongbok ends up feeling that Eunbi needs more help than So-young does. She is spiraling hard enough to drive everyone around her crazy. That night, the teenage heartache shifts over to Ji-won. She makes up a fictional friend and asks her older sister for advice on what to do when this friend's confession gets rejected. Her sister immediately ruffles her hair and asks if Ji-won was the one who got rejected. Ji-won admits it, complains about how miserable she is, then asks her sister to please keep up the friend cover story for later. After teenage angst comes the angst of grown men. Kang-hoon is brooding at home. He has just met with Chulju's lawyer and learned that the foreman on the construction site when Chulju's accident happened is Mihee's younger brother. That means if he testifies in court, he could very well lose his job. He has to ask himself what teaching really is to him. Is it just a stable job, or is it a calling to set a good example? The next morning, Ki-joon corners Ji-won before class to talk. Embarrassed, she lies and says she was just kidding the other night. She is too funny. She glances down at an invisible watch on her wrist, mumbles she is going to be late, and bolts. About now, something big is happening at the school. Ignoring the vice principal's objections, Mihee plans to shut down the architecture department. She wants to launch a drone department and a pet care department, the trendy fields right now. The news ripples through the teachers, with new departments opening and unpopular ones closing, and student numbers in architecture dwindling. The teachers suddenly start worrying about their own futures. While Kang-hoon and Chae-rin complain about how chaotic the conglomerate running the school and the construction sites is, they accidentally learn that a student named Min-so had once been bullied so badly by Bong-chun that she nearly ended her own life. Kang-hoon connects the dots. Bong-chun has been hiding behind Mihee to dodge consequences in Chulju's case, and clearly hasn't learned a thing. Anger builds in him at the kind of scum who operates above the law. Thanks to a powerful umbrella, Kang-hoon swallows his anger and goes to guide the kids on the off-campus carpentry project. Ji-won's pitch is more concept than substance and gets cut, but Ki-joon's idea, a wooden phone amplifier, makes Kang-hoon light up. With minor modifications to a simple wooden box, you can drop a phone inside and amplify the sound. The idea was born from Ki-joon wanting to help his hearing-impaired grandfather hear the audio coming out of his phone. Not only is the idea practical, it carries a heartfelt story. Kang-hoon locks the direction of the project on the spot. After class, Youngju tells Ji-won how much he loves her idea. She lights up and drags him home to start working on it together, only to bump into Ki-joon. After hearing the situation, Ki-joon doesn't say much and quietly leaves in the strange air. Ji-won starts spiraling again. always feeling like his expression had darkened as he walked off. But she also feels she has no right to worry about anyone else's feelings. Just then, Ji-won's mom comes by and asks her to bring kimchi over to Ki-joon's room. Ji-won's nerves snap. She yells no, no thanks, and crawls under the covers. Her mom worries her daughter has skipped straight from puberty into menopause, the way her moods keep flipping. Across town, Young-ju goes to find Ki-joon and ask about his relationship with Ji-won. Ki-joon, still under the impression that her confession had been a joke, ends up saying he and Ji-won are just normal friends. Young-ju lets out a quiet breath and leaves without explaining why he asked. The next day, the Jongbok and Eunbi storyline continues. Since Eunbi took Jongbok's advice and uploaded a dance video, a small company has invited her in for an audition. Jongbok is all in. He buys her makeup, dresses up sharp, and plays a respectable manager to cheer her on. When they arrive, they realize it's a scam. The company immediately picks apart her so-called weak points and demands a hefty training fee. Jongbok knows any audition that asks for money is a scam and drags Eunbi out without hesitation. She, still hoping it was real, scolds him for wasting an opportunity. He pulls her in as she breaks down crying and promises he will take responsibility for her until she finds a real company. Tears stream down her face. About then, Ji-won shows up at the tutoring center to drop off medicine her mom forgot at home. Her mother, a tutor by trade, has always hidden the fact that her daughter goes to a vocational school. Seeing her mom shoo her away embarrasses Ji-won. As she walks out, she runs into So-young, who works there part-time. The strange string of fate has the two girls sit down for a long talk. Ji-won opens up that she doesn't want to chase what everyone else chases. She doesn't want to take the college entrance exam just to please her mother. She wants to be a great carpenter. So-young admires the courage to defy social expectations. Then she shares her own dream. She wants to get into a real college, the kind ordinary people go to, and live an ordinary life. The next day, the off-campus carpentry project hits a snag. The committee demands a revised proposal on short notice. With no other option, the team asks Ji-won, who is great with design software, to team up with project lead Young-ju and crank out something quickly. Alone with her, Young-ju's heart pounds like a drum. The scent of her hair drives him crazy. Her smile at a tilt nearly stops his heart. He stumbles through the night in a state somewhere between life and death. During a break, Ji-won brings up the recent breakup. Young-ju seizes the moment and explains that he and So-young were just pretending. He broke things off because there is someone he actually wants to date. Ji-won's eyes go wide, her inner gossip mode fully engaged, and she practically begs him to spill. What comes next is the worst kind of self-inflicted gossip. Young-ju gathers his courage and tells her the person he wants to date is her. Ji-won freezes, and Ki-joon, who has just walked in, freezes too. He suddenly doesn't know whether to step in or step out. Panicked, he quietly slipped away. Ji-won, also panicked, apologized over and over. Young-ju laughed it off and said no one was at fault. The one he likes and the one she likes are both decent people. He told her to stop apologizing and to seriously consider his confession. Just then, her phone buzzed with a message. Ki-joon had texted to say he couldn't come by tonight. Ji-won's face fell. Alone with Young-ju, she suddenly felt awkward. Back at the house, she runs into Ki-joon on the rooftop and senses him keeping his distance. She racks her brain but never imagines that he saw the confession scene. Inside his room, Ki-joon is in turmoil over her. Unfortunately, everything around him keeps reminding him of her. The cutting board is from her, the tangerine Dong-soo is peeling is from her. The tracksuit Ki-joon once lent her has been returned. Even the anti-itch spray Dong-soo is using was made by Ji-won. Her name keeps echoing in his ears. Kang-hoon is also stuck in his own knot. He has been reaching out to old colleagues to gather evidence that might help Chul-ju's case. In conversation, he remembers that years ago, they had sent text message to Bong-chun, warning him about the unsafe working conditions on the elevated job site. Bong-chun had ignored them, and that led directly to Chul-ju's accident. If they can find that old phone with the message history, it could prove Bong-chun's negligence. Unfortunately, Kang-hoon had been targeted back then for speaking up. All he remembers is that in his grief he got drunk and smashed the phone. Kang-hoon asks his ex-wife Chae-rin if she remembers where the old phone might be. Chae-rin had divorced him because he was always sticking his nose into other people's business and drawing trouble. Hearing now that he is once again about to step out to help Chul-ju, and not wanting Kang-hoon to end up so isolated he can't take care of their daughter, she shares an important piece of information to make him slow down. He was only able to come to this school because he took over for Moo-kyung, who was fired, and Moo-kyung was fired for speaking up for Chul-ju. Hearing the part about his daughter and the real consequences, Kang-hoon goes quiet. The next day at school, Ki-joon walks in and sees a sight that turns his stomach. In a heavy downpour, Ji-won has no umbrella, and Young-ju is sharing his with her, walking her in. Unable to swallow it, Ki-joon goes to class and tosses Ji-won an umbrella, gruffly reminding her to check the weather forecast next time and bring her own. She just stares, lost. Every couple in this school is making some kind of progress. Eunbi, in the cafeteria, keeps thinking about Jong-bok. She replays the memory of crying in his arms, and their relationship is creeping past the safe friend line. Over on So-young's side, since her breakup with Young-ju, some random guy has started bothering her. One minute he calls and asks her to sing a song into the phone. The next he confesses to her face. Young-ju notices that So-young is upset and steps in to help, but he no longer has the fake boyfriend cover to lean on. So-young does have feelings for him, but her pride stops her from saying anything. 1,000 words sit at the tip of her tongue, but all that comes out is a cold, tell him to stop worrying about her business. Tangled hearts everywhere. In carpentry class, sometimes Ji-won catches herself staring at Ki-joon. Other times, Ki-joon catches himself watching Ji-won and Young-ju work together. Jealous. Tucked in here is also a small detail. Kang-hoon is genuinely impressed by Ki-joon's woodworking. The boy has natural talent and is progressing at a stunning rate. That night, the messy feelings keep building. So-young happens to walk past Young-ju's restaurant and gets pulled in by his warm mom. Knowing they have broken up, the mom handles the moment with the ease of someone who has lived through everything. Then Young-ju comes home and his mom introduces So-young to him. What So-young does next genuinely confuses me. Out of nowhere, the usually cool So-young marches up and shouts in his face. She scolds him for coming home so late, asking if he doesn't realize his family worries about him. Then she just bolts. His mom is left standing there muttering that she wasn't even worried. Young-ju gets home in a daze and talks with Chul-ju about everything happening lately. From romantic confusion, they move to the lawsuit. That is when he learns that Kang-hoon has been quietly running around behind the scenes for Chul-ju, taking on the school. Guilt washes over Young-ju. Meanwhile, Ki-joon notices that the wooden heart Ji-won had given him as a kid and the wooden heart he had carved as his return gift have both gone missing. He immediately thinks of Ji-won staying over the night she lost her keys. They meet on the rooftop. Ji-won argues that one was made by her and the other was made for her. So what is the problem if she took both? Ki-joon is stunned by her double-standard logic, but he has bigger things to ask about. He hints around to see if she is dating anyone. Ji-won, slow as ever to catch his meaning, assumes he is just talking nonsense and walks off. The next day, Mi-hee discovers Kang-hoon has been running around for Chul-ju. She sends Han-soo to pressure him into minding his own business. The threat is clear. If Kang-hoon doesn't fall in line, his career is over. He has been preparing for this day, but when it actually arrives, the weight lands harder than expected. That night, Young-ju notices Ji-won has been in a daze all day. Worried his confession is the reason, he pulls her aside for a private talk. She gathers her courage and opens up. Not long ago, she confessed to someone she likes, but the response was cold. Young-ju asks if she regrets confessing. When she says no, he smiles and tells her he doesn't regret his own confession either. So no matter how it turns out, she should follow what her heart actually wants. Before they know it, the deadline for the second off-campus carpentry project arrives. Most people designing for the elderly are just businesses, since they think old people's money is easy to take. People like Ki-joon, who designs speakers for the elderly out of genuine care, are rare, and his design happens to be truly useful. When the team hands out the amplifiers to elderly residents in the community, the response is overwhelming. When Ki-joon gives one to Dong-soo, at Dong-soo's request, he and Young-ju take a commemorative photo with the old man. That night, while Ki-joon and Young-ju distribute the speakers, they invent a little truth or dare game. Young-ju wants to ask Ki-joon a question, while also confirming what he already suspects. Is Ki-joon the one who has been sending gifts to Ho-sung's mother every year? Ki-joon never expected Young-ju had bumped into her recently and learned about the gifts. There is no point hiding it now, so he admits it. Then it is Ki-joon's turn. He asks Young-ju what Ji-won's final answer to his confession was. Young-ju isn't bothered that Ki-joon now knows about the confession, and what he says next stuns Ki-joon. Young-ju had realized a while back that Ki-joon also likes Ji-won. He doesn't want him hiding his feelings on his account, so he tells Ki-joon to follow his heart and just go ask her directly. Caught with his real feelings exposed, Ki-joon stammers. Heavy-hearted, Ki-joon heads to his part-time job, where he finds out two of his older co-workers are now dating. He hears they had liked each other since high school, and only recently made it official. He grills them about how exactly that final step happens. The senior tells Ki-joon to close his eyes and picture a scene, a boy and a girl, still unclear about how they feel about each other. In a delicate moment, suddenly they hold hands tightly, faces drawing closer. Ki-joon opens his eyes and cuts in. He can't go any closer. The senior has just answered Ki-joon's last question. If breaking up means losing the friendship, the question itself was wrong from the start. The fact that Ki-joon is even worrying about that proves he doesn't see Ji-won as just a friend anymore. What he really needs is to take the step. That night, the boy at the edge of growing up stays up the entire night. There are decisions in life that make your heart pound. This is one of them. The next morning he skips breakfast and heads to school early. He waits for her outside. Before she can react, he machine guns the words out. Let's walk to school together. Let's eat lunch together. Let's walk home together. Let's date. Neither of them has dated before, and they are flooded with questions about how a couple is supposed to act. The shyer Ji-won proposes they not show off in front of classmates. Of course, she is the first one to slip. During break, she sits there staring at Ki-joon, her face lit up with sweetness. Classmates tease her about going all puppy love over her childhood friend. Panicked, she denies it loudly and runs off red-faced. In PE class, Ki-joon trips once, and Ji-won nearly calls an ambulance. The classmates can tell she is going way over the top. Catching herself, she tries to play it off as just being a worried friend. But this girl cannot hide a feeling to save her life. The funniest moment comes after class, when Ji-won scolds Ki-joon for not hiding the relationship well enough. Ki-joon bursts out laughing. He really wants to ask who could possibly be more obvious than her. What comes next is even sweeter. Most kids at this age still have such innocent hearts that just dating itself is pure happiness. Inside the restaurant, though, the place is full of grown couples whose flirting makes the two of them go red and slightly overwhelmed. Maybe influenced by the atmosphere, Ji-won scoops up a bite of her own food and feeds it to Ki-joon. Back at the house, they head up to the rooftop to share their usual snacks and late-night food. Compared to fancy expensive restaurants, this kind of relaxed meal is much more their style. That night, they finally untangle a lot of old knots. Ki-joon learns for the first time that the reason Ji-won had punched him as a kid was because his childhood vow never to love her had crushed her pride. They also hold hands for the first time. The current that runs through them lets them actually feel the difference between friends and lovers. Ji-won has the strongest reaction. She lies awake all night replaying the moment, her heart full of quiet cheers. While some people are sweet, others are going gray with stress. Ji-won is floating. Mi-hee is nearly bald with worry. Kang-hoon might actually testify in court for Chul-ju. The most urgent task now is for Mi-hee to find evidence that will finish off Chul-ju and Young-ju. With a nudge from Jae-hyuk, she thinks of So-young. The reason So-young protected Young-ju back then must have been because she saw him damaging the car. And now that they have broken up, So-young no longer has a reason to protect her ex. Said and done. Mi-hee dangles an offer in front of So-young, a top college and a full scholarship in exchange for testifying that Young-ju damaged the car. According to Mi-hee, even without So-young's testimony, Young-ju is finished. Faced with the polished words of the cunning woman, So-young feels her resolve crack. Young-ju happens to walk past Mi-hee's office and sees So-young leaving with a heavy face. He chases after her to ask what happened. So-young, mood tangled, brushes him off without even glancing at him. That night, Young-ju takes another hit. Ki-joon vaguely realizes that one big reason Ji-won has been keeping their relationship secret is that she doesn't know how to break the news to Young-ju. So Ki-joon goes to Young-ju with an apology and tells him outright that he and Ji-won are dating. Young-ju handles it far more calmly than expected. He laughs and tells Ki-joon to leave, then goes back to his room. He looks at the chocolates Ji-won gave him a while back and laughs at himself. About this same time, So-young is reviewing the video she had once accidentally taken of Young-ju smashing the car. She is deeply torn. She is terrified of poverty. Everything she does is to scrape together enough for tuition and living expenses. Now Mi-hee has dropped a real chance into her lap. She lies awake all night. The next day, the school discovers Ji-won's secret romance. Because she had once held protest signs around campus, nearly everyone knows who she is. When someone catches her holding hands with a boy, the rumor spreads fast. Crowds gather to ask Ji-won who he is. Seeing her go red, Ki-joon walks up, takes her hand in public, and confirms it openly. The whole school erupts. So-young catches a flicker of sadness on Youngju's face, and her own expression turns complicated. After school, Ji-won runs to find Youngju to explain, but he speaks first. He may not like that punk Ki-joon, but he wishes her well. Life slowly returns to normal. Ji-won and Ki-joon walk hand in hand and stop pulling apart when people pass by. Ki-joon explains that he had known about Youngju's confession and had already talked to him about it the night before. Ji-won still worries that she has wrecked his friendship with Youngju. This sweet girl has a wild imagination. One second, she is upset about a relationship moment. The next, she is hit with a new carpentry idea. Because there is no bench on the roadside, an old pet woman has to sit on the ground waiting for her grandchild's school bus. Ji-won pitches Kang-hoon a new project for the second round of the off-campus carpentry, building benches for places where kids wait for buses and elderly residents wait for their grandchildren. Kang-hoon lights up. Finally, Ji-won has come up with something practical. Just as he is wrapping up, the students, now in full love fever thanks to Ji-won and Ki-joon's romance, swarm Kang-hoon to ask about his first love. He starts to tell the story, and it lands strangely. Some of them realize it sounds exactly like the first love story Chae-rin had told them last year. A few questions later, the truth comes out. Chae-rin is Kang-hoon's ex-wife. The students all promise to keep it secret. 1 second later, every soul in the building knows. Now things are bad, Han. Soo calls both teachers in and chews them out for hiding their messy past. Kang-hoon brushes it off, doesn't blame the kids, and goes right back to making things with them. Youngju is absent from carpentry today. Ho-sung's mother is moving away, and she asks to see him one last time before she leaves. She also asks him to deliver a Taekwondo medal to Ki-joon. From her, Youngju finally learns the truth about why Ki-joon never showed up to Ho-sung's funeral. He actually had shown up that day. He had been determined to keep a promise to Ho-sung, and had gone to compete for a medal to bring with him. He had arrived too late and just missed Youngju. All these years, Youngju had been holding on to a misunderstanding. Now it dissolves. That night, his eyes red, Youngju goes to find Ki-joon. He hands him the medal and asks why he never told him the truth. At the funeral, Youngju had kept wondering why Ki-joon wasn't there and when he would arrive. Because of that one misunderstanding, for years they had been more distant than strangers. Once it is all out, Youngju refuses to cry in front of him and quickly turns away. After the tears and the laughter, life moves on, and another big day arrives. Eunbi has slowly realized she has feelings for Jong-bak. She decides she will confess to him the day she hits 10,000 followers. Just as she finishes setting everything up, Jong-bak suddenly gets called outside. Someone is looking for him. Eunbi waits, planning to confess once he returns, ready to leave behind single life and her single friend So-young. What happens next blindsides her. Jong-bak left by himself but comes back carrying a baby. The newborn's healthy cries echo through the building. Everyone freezes. Jong-bak looks like he wants to cry, but no tears come. He had become a father. Jong-bak tells everyone that his ex-girlfriend Da-hee had just dropped the baby off. She is leaving to study abroad, and her family was about to put the baby up for adoption behind her back. She begged Jong-bak to take care of the child for the next 3 years. He had broken down on the spot, thinking he was still a kid himself. How was he supposed to take care of another kid? He remembers now. One time when he was sick, Da-hee had taken advantage of him while he was weak. He had called her terrible names for it then, but had refused to take any responsibility. Now there are no more options. He cannot bring himself to abandon a baby. In a surprising turn, the usually obnoxious Han-soo shows a softer side. Having raised 3 kids of his own, he steps in and soothes the crying baby. That night, Eunbi cries her heart out. She had been preparing to taste the experience of being a girlfriend. Instead, she nearly received an unexpected gift card for stepmotherhood. To everyone she meets, she swears she doesn't care about that awful guy anymore. But the next day, when she overhears classmates gossiping about Jong-bak, she storms over and lays into them. She tells them off for being foolish enough to fall for lies and poke their noses into other people's lives. Then she drops a bombshell. She announces that Jong-bak is her boyfriend. Meanwhile, the carpentry students get the official news. The school will be shutting down the carpentry program in favor of drone training and pet care. They can finish their current studies, but the death of the woodworking track is heartbreaking. Teachers like Kang-hoon will have to change careers. The mood is grim. For Ki-joon and Ji-won, the silver lining is they are already together. Hard times they would have weathered alone before, they now face by sharing them. Their worries no longer feel quite so heavy. Jong-bak is not so lucky. When he gets back to school, he is pale and out of energy. He tells everyone that his mom plans to put the poor baby up for adoption and is threatening to take Jong-bak off the family registry for for causing this much trouble. He had to literally cling to his mother's leg to be allowed back home. He also tells everyone he has named the baby Jong Bok Jr. Everyone shudders. Nobody had ever imagined what a high schooler naming a baby would sound like. About then, Bong-chun shows up at school to pressure Mi-hee into finishing off the Chul-ju case. On his way out, he runs into Kang-hoon and Chae-rin. Bong-chun warns Kang-hoon to remember what happened the last time he stood up for someone and lost his job. Don't go stirring things up for Chul-ju. Chae-rin may have divorced Kang-hoon, but she can't stand watching the man she once loved get bullied. She bluntly tells the thug to get lost. Later, while Chae-rin is visiting her mother who isn't herself anymore, she reaches out to Kang-hoon again. Before the divorce, her mom had been tough to handle, but anytime Kang-hoon was around, she would calm down and listen. Chae-rin can always lean on this man. Even now, after the divorce, Kang-hoon gives her mother the wooden sound amplifier the students made in the off-campus carpentry project. Even those with poor hearing can hear clearly through it. The thoughtful gesture moves Chae-rin deeply. That night at home, she digs out an old phone. Inside is the evidence that could help. Chul-ju. Chae-rin had been afraid Kang-hoon would start another war by stepping up, so she hadn't told him she still had it. Now she decides to give it to him. Meanwhile, Young-ju finishes work and runs into So-young waiting at the bus stop. Lately, he has been planning to volunteer at the orphanage where she lives, but afraid she would feel awkward, he was about to cancel. She blurts out that it is fine. After all, they had met there before. Confused, he asks what she means. She tells him that before he had transferred to their school, he had volunteered at her orphanage. She remembered him. Naive Young-ju can't understand how she could remember him. When they were strangers back then, So-young goes red and changes the subject. Their fate did not end with the breakup. In the blink of an eye, the team's second off-campus carpentry project is done. Sadly, midway through, a small accident occurs. A kid had been jumping on one of the benches and broke it, and the parents tear into the team. Kang-hoon checks the bench and finds the cause. He tells the kids not to blame themselves. The fault is his. He should have inspected every detail more carefully. Ji-won is especially crushed. The project was her idea, and the guilt sits the heaviest on her. Back home, she goes up to the rooftop alone and stares into space. Hearing about the incident, Ki-joon's grandfather comes up to comfort her. Dong-soo used to be a carpenter himself, and he has dealt with plenty of setbacks on this road. Like clearing a clogged pipe, his words break through and help her breathe again. The worst thing about bad feelings is keeping them bottled inside. Once they are out, things start to feel better. Elsewhere, Mi-hee sends Han-soo to lean on Chul-ju's mother. The message is clear. If Chul-ju keeps pushing the case, she will leak the story of Young-ju damaging Mi-hee's car. The scene happens to be witnessed by Kang-hoon, who had come by to see Soon-ja. Once Han-soo leaves, Kang-hoon urges her not to give up. If Young-ju ever finds out he is somehow tied to his brother's case, with his temperament, something bad will happen for sure. Soon-ja nods over and over. Young-ju, completely unaware that his family is dealing with all this, heads to the orphanage to volunteer over the weekend. The director, a nun, has seen So-young and Young-ju use matching profile photos and calls him son-in-law. The other volunteers and staff don't know what is going on, but happily join the teasing. Even the children get curious. At lunch, the director shares a lot of stories about So-young. The girl who seems so sharp-tongued and logical, apparently, has plenty of childlike habits too. Young-ju listens, holding back a smile. That evening, Young-ju gives So-young a set of handmade wooden bookmarks. Each one is engraved with a few words of encouragement. Not long ago, when they had met at the bus stop, she had been reading a book, and he noticed she just folded the corners of pages to mark her spot. So he had come up with the bookmark idea. Under a beautiful night sky, this awkward couple suddenly finds each other looking lovelier than ever. About then, Ki-joon and Ji-won are also having their own quiet little moment. Ki-joon invites her over for food and a movie to pull her out of her recent slump. Things are just starting to get cozy when Ji-won's dad suddenly drops by, and the couple has to scramble to hide. Once they finally see him off, Ji-won's leg has gone numb. If the scary night had ended there, it would have stayed lovely. But just then, Ki-joon gets a phone call that drains the color from his face. Something has happened to Dong-soo. He and Ji-won race to the hospital. Dong-soo lies still in his hospital bed, motionless, as if he has finally drifted into a long sleep. Ki-joon's grandfather had passed. That night, Ki-joon dreams of his childhood. In those memories there are almost no traces of his parents, just Dong-soo, the smell of woodwork, and warm sunlight. So when the warm wrinkled smile of Dong-soo fades into the distance, Ki-joon wakes up and there is no family left beside him. Thankfully, Ji-won's family steps in to help with the funeral. Ji-won's eyes are red and swollen, hardly any better off than him, and her parents are visibly worried. Ki-joon's father vanished long ago to escape debt, and his mother had moved abroad and remarried years before. There is no adult in his family left to help. Ji-won's mother, with no blood relation, steps into that role. She brings food, urges him to eat, and asks him to be brave and send Dong-soo off properly. Young-ju gets the news and rushes over. The two of them used to be close friends, then hated each other, then reconciled. Just look at each other in silence. Late into the night, after everyone else has gone home, only the two of them remain. Young-ju isn't great with words, so he doesn't know how to comfort Ki-joon. He just quietly tucks a blanket over him after he falls asleep. He isn't going home tonight. He stays with Ki-joon until dawn. The next morning when Kang-hoon arrives at school, he sees Young-ju carrying a heavy heart. He can't help but think of how Han-soo had used Young-ju's smashed car to pressure Soon-ja into dropping Chul-ju's lawsuit. His mind starts spinning. He tries to keep his emotions in check and just say hello. Young-ju isn't himself. He takes back his earlier request that Kang-hoon testify for Chul-ju. He doesn't want Kang-hoon to end up like the previous carpentry teacher, fired for getting tangled up in Chul-ju's case. But Young-ju's words have the opposite effect. They light a fire in Kang-hoon, a teacher hiding behind students. He goes straight to confront Han-soo. He calls out Han-soo and Mi-hee for the disgraceful things they have done to protect the conglomerate. Han-soo instinctively threatens his job again. This time Kang-hoon doesn't back down. He has decided to do what he believes is right. Chae-rin catches a glimpse of how firm her ex-husband looks. She has a hunch his stubbornness is back, and she can't help worrying. That night, the two of them ride together to pay their respects to Ki-joon's grandfather. Chae-rin asks him to confirm he really is willing to sacrifice his job to help Chul-ju win this case. In a complicated tone she says maybe getting divorced was the right call after all. The car falls into silence. Neither says another word. Another quiet night. This time Ji-won takes Young-ju's place at Ki-joon's side. Through the long stretch of darkness, she gives her boyfriend a sliver of precious warmth on a cold winter night. On the day of the burial, Ji-won's family and Young-ju, all those familiar faces, surround Ki-joon. That day, he walks through it in a daze. The reality of losing Dong-soo is more than he can carry. Just as they are about to leave, he suddenly realizes Dong-soo isn't with them. Then he looks down at the Yal funeral photo in his hands and remembers Dong-soo is gone. Everyone watching him in that moment can barely hold back tears. For him, this kind of pain will linger for a long time. Back at the house, he learns for the first time that whether a home feels warm has nothing to do with its size and everything to do with who lives in it. Without Dong-soo, the place feels empty and cold. He looks at the things the old man left behind, and his head fills with that warm smile. The pain in his chest swells without limit, and the tears just keep falling. Ji-won, worried about him, comes to check in. As she is about to knock, she hears him sobbing inside. Suddenly powerless, the two of them stand on opposite sides of a single door, each crying alone. And this is only the beginning. In the days that follow, Ki-joon keeps skipping school and stops responding to messages. His classmates are sick with worry. The whole classroom sits under a heavy fog. Ji-won, afraid of making things worse, often slips off alone to feel her sadness in private. Young-ju pulls her aside privately to ask about him, and only then does he learn that Ki-joon hasn't even left his room. Ji-won has no news of him either. The campus has lost its usual liveliness. Jongbak and Eunbi are also stuck in their own headache. Now that Jongbak is suddenly a father, Eunbi has no choice but to bury her feelings, but she isn't fully cutting him off either. The two of them still talk, often enough that classmates tease them as a forbidden romance. Watching all this, So-young silently notes that Eunbi isn't as detached from Jongbak as she claims. About then, Kang-hoon comes to find So-young, and they have a long talk. He already knows the full plan. Mi-hee had to drag So-young to her side. So-young also hears from him that Mi-hee wants to use Young-ju's case to force Chul-ju to drop his lawsuit. Kang-hoon doesn't push her toward either side. He just asks her, fairly neutrally, which side she will stand on, Mi-hee or Young-ju. So-young is quiet for a while, then gives an answer that is both vague and painful. From the time she was small, no one ever wanted to team up with her, so now, she teams up only with herself. That night Young-ju goes home and gets into a huge fight. In the end, Soon-ja and Chul-ju decide to accept Han-soo's offer and drop the appeal. Young-ju is certain something is being hidden, so in the middle of the night, he heads out and calls Kang-hoon to see what he might know. The two of them meet. Kang-hoon lays out everything, from Han-soo's threats to the attempt to buy So-young off. Nothing held back. Knowing the truth, Young-ju loses it. If his family really drops the lawsuit, he, swears he will stop attending school. He has to tear Mi-hee's side apart. Kang-hoon expected exactly this reaction from the hothead. As for this fight, he makes his stance clear. He will testify in court. He has to help Chul-ju win. Young-ju looks at him, his heart full of both guilt and gratitude. He knows perfectly well that testifying means going to war with Mi-hee. Not only will Kang-hoon lose this job, he may well get blacklisted across the field. Kang-hoon doesn't care. At a dead end on a young man's road, this older man has given Young-ju a solid place to stand. Late that night, Ki-joon is sinking in his own gloom when an urgent knock at the door snaps him out of it. It is Young-ju, the best friend who broke and made up with him. Young-ju claims he has run away from home and announces he is staying at Ki-joon's place for a few days. Ki-joon assumes he came to babysit him and tries to send him away. But this time the cold Young-ju digs in. He marches straight into the kitchen, cooks up some instant ramyun, the national late-night snack, and keeps insisting Ki-joon try his cooking. He casually borrows Ki-joon's tracksuit as pajamas. The two old friends end up sleeping side by side on the floor. Without a word about it, Young-ju breaks the heavy air in the room. The roles between them have flipped. Young-ju becomes the chatty one, all sweet talk and warmth, while Ki-joon barely says a thing. Under the steady stream of friendly attacks, Ki-joon finally starts to open up. The next morning, Young-ju makes him a nutritious breakfast that tastes downright frightening. Before Ki-joon can refuse, Young-ju shuts him up with good news. Kang-hoon has agreed to testify, and Chul-ju's case should go smoothly. Distracted by the news, Ki-joon forgets the abomination on the plate in front of him and very nearly hands his life over to Young-ju. The two of them head out and run into Ji-won. Young-ju hands Ki-joon back to her and rushes off to school. This gives Ji-won the chance she has been waiting for. She tells him gently, if he misses Dong-soo, just cry out loud. That is the most natural way to release feelings. She promises she will stay beside him, cry with him, laugh with him, be his solid base. Her words clear away a lot of the darkness in him. Around then, Young-ju finds So-young. He had heard from Kang-hoon that she is facing a hard choice. Young-ju tells her not to carry it as a burden. If she wants to testify, she should follow her heart. He is ready to face the punishment for damaging the car. He still doesn't quite see the feelings So-young has for him. How could a girl actually betray the person she loves? So-young walks right up to Mi-hee and declares her position. She will not testify against Young-ju. If Mi-hee keeps pressuring her, So-young will reveal the family connection between her and the twins. She will also expose how Mi-hee has been using her position to rig competitions for them. As a final shot, she warns Mi-hee not to try to manufacture other witnesses against Young-ju, or she will blow the whole thing wide open. Mi-hee is utterly humiliated. And it isn't over. Kang-hoon remains firm about testifying, and he and Han-soo blow up at each other over it. Sam-don, the man who originally brought Kang-hoon to this school, can't stand the noise anymore and storms into Mi-hee's office. He is actually the son of the chairman behind the school's parent conglomerate, a hidden villain after all. With the school in chaos, Sam-don tells Mi-hee to find a reason to fire Kang-hoon as fast as possible. Before they know it, the court hearing arrives. Kang-hoon takes the stand and testifies that he had repeatedly warned Bong-chun about the safety risks of working at elevated heights. Bong-chun's lawyer immediately shifts the angle. He first points out that when the accident happened, Kang-hoon was no longer working at the site, so he couldn't know the conditions. Then he attacks Kang-hoon's character, saying he had been fired for accepting bribes and that his word can't be trusted, hurting. Kang-hoon lays out the truth about the bribery scandal from years ago. A few of his old co-workers had been having their wages withheld by the foreman. They asked Kang-hoon to escalate the issue. After he did, they were all bought off and changed their stories, and Kang-hoon ended up the scapegoat. There is a saying, the person who lights a fire for everyone shouldn't be left to freeze in the storm. Kang-hoon experienced the opposite, and it cut him deep. For a long time after that, he turned cynical about people in life. He didn't want to talk about it again. Hearing this, the people who know him are deeply moved. Sadly, court runs on evidence. At the critical moment, Chae-rin can't bear the thought of her ex-husband losing again. Through Ki-joon and Ji-won, she delivers Kang-hoon's old phone to him. Inside are messages where he warned Bong-chun about safety, and Bong-chun's replies confirming he had received them. With this proof, Bong-chun has no way out. Chul-ju's side wins the case. So-young, working her shift, hears the news and nearly explodes with joy, her cool demeanor breaking for the first time. Then comes Mi-hee's revenge, citing Kang-hoon's negative attitude as the reason. She fires him. The students are furious. Even though everyone had guessed she would retaliate, no one expected it to be this swift, or this cruel. Naturally, Kang-hoon won't take it. He confronts Han-soo and demands the school produce actual evidence of his so-called bad attitude. But fairness and justice are not exactly thriving at this school, long since corrupted under Mi-hee's grip. For the moment, Kang-hoon is on the back foot and the students are seething. Ji-won had once protested when Moo-kyung was unfairly fired the term before. Now she plans to use the same playbook. She calls on classmates to gather after school to discuss how to make this big. Young-ju, meanwhile, is racked with guilt for pulling Kang-hoon into a war with the school. So-young watches from the side, worried. Everyone is worried about Kang-hoon. Even Jae-hee is. She has been trying to convince Mi-hee to keep him on, but she underestimates the darkness of the adult world, and all she ends up doing is crying after being shot down. Jongbok and Eunbi are the only two in class staying out of it. Right now Jongbok is tearing himself up trying to keep Eunbi at arm's length. Ever since the baby arrived, he has had to carry the little one everywhere. A few times, the baby's cries got picked up while Eunbi was live streaming, which led to a wave of online rumors that Eunbi was pregnant. To keep his crush out of the mess, Jongbok keeps making excuses about being busy and cuts off contact. That night the kids gather at Ki-joon's place to make protest signs. Only Jongbok has no time to help, complaining to anyone who will listen about his romance that ended before it began. As the night goes on, classmates filter out, leaving Young-ju and Ki-joon to continue staying together. Young-ju doesn't have much faith in the protest's chances. Ki-joon, on the other hand, has full faith in Ji-won, the resident protest expert. That helps ease Young-ju's worries. After the lights go out, Ki-joon gets a text from Ji-won inviting him out for a late-night bite. Seeing Young-ju seems to be asleep, he tiptoes out the door. Ji-won's real reason isn't food, it is to check on him. Caught up in Kang-hoon's situation today, she hadn't been able to focus on Ki-joon. Now, seeing him eat and drink normally, she breathes a sigh of relief. Her eyes turn red. He still misses Dong-soo. When the feelings rise, he still cries. The bad news is his eyes are nearly swollen from it. The good news is that after every release, he feels a little less crushed. After their late snack and saying goodnight to his girlfriend, Ki-joon sneaks back home, only to get caught by Young-ju. Young-ju had been pretending to be asleep the entire time. Who knew the cold Young-ju had a teasing side? Thankfully, he respects the moment and lets Ki-joon save face about the secret midnight date. The next day, the kind of protest the school hadn't seen in a while is back at the front gate. This time it is bigger than Ji-won's one-woman act. Sam-don walks past it, fuming. Ki-joon even hands him a flyer and asks him to round up some teachers to join in. To Sam-don this looks like an outright uprising. Keeping a straight face, he humors Ki-joon and slips away. Later, when Han-soo arrives to see Mi-hee, he hears Sam-don's voice in her office, demanding she make all of this disappear immediately. Then Sam-don storms out, furious. Han-soo, who doesn't know Sam-don's identity as a chaebol heir, is stunned. Through the doorway he sees Mi-hee shaking with rage, grinding her teeth. Sensing trouble, Han-soo knocks gently to give her time to compose herself before he enters. Mi-hee, face dark, orders him to shut down the spectacle at the front gate. If he can't pull it off, she suggests he can pack his bags. Han-soo returns to his office shaken. He sees Sam-don casually chatting with colleagues. It hits him that Sam-don can give orders to Mi-hee, and that Sam-don shares a last name with the chairman of the parent conglomerate, Mr. Cho. Acting on his hunch, Han-soo pulls up the public shareholder list. Sure enough, Sam-don is a major shareholder behind the chairman. He is part of the Cho family. That night, Chae-rin invites her ex-husband and their daughter out to dinner. She is worried that losing his job will leave him broken and full of regret, so she pulls out the video she had recorded of the protest at the front gate. This time, Kang-hoon stepping up isn't met with betrayal. There is a group of students backing him, throwing themselves into the fight for him. Watching the footage, Kang-hoon can't hold it together. He covers his face and cries. Chae-rin watches her ex-husband with a mix of amusement and tenderness. The next morning the clash escalates at the school gate. Han-soo wants to break up the protest. When polite words don't work, he switches to threats of calling their parents. So-young shuts him down with the simple argument that the right to assemble is a basic human right. The honor student really is something. Just then, Kang-hoon shows up. Han-soo immediately starts coaxing him to spare the kids any trouble. Kang-hoon deliberately ignores him, walks into the line of protesters, and stands in front of the students. Han-soo, completely losing face, scurries off. After Han-soo retreats, Kang-hoon turns to the kids and finally says what is in his heart. He asks them to leave the protest to him and to focus on their studies. They are eventually persuaded and return to class. As soon as they sit down, they hit another wall. The results of the off-campus carpentry project are out, and their team didn't place well. Ji-won believes her bench project sank the team, The guilt is written all over her face. Outside, security and the PE teacher are trying to chase Kang-hoon off. In the scuffle, he gets shoved to the ground, but this time he isn't alone. Young-ju charges out to protect him, doubling the protest from 1 to 2. Young-ju, never good with words, thanks Kang-hoon for everything. From hiding the car incident to testifying for his brother, Kang-hoon, never having seen this side of him, looks embarrassed. Teacher and student laugh together, in a warmth they had never shared before. After school, a less warm scene unfolds. Eunbi has been invited to an audition by another company. She wants Jongbok to come along the next day. He hesitates, then forces himself to turn her down. Once he is home, he digs into the company's background to make sure it is legitimate, then exhales. He is already a dad. He can't bring himself to get in the way of Eunbi's future. That night, Ji-won is still tearing herself up about dragging the team down without a prize. Meanwhile, Ki-joon, who hasn't been doing carpentry that long, is already showing real talent. Ji-won has to admit, loving something and being talented at it aren't the same thing. Ki-joon notices her losing heart on the carpentry path and worries, so he secretly calls Kang-hoon to think of a way to lift her up. The next day, Ji-won gets a call from Kang-hoon, saying the bench project still has some unfinished work and that she needs to complete the remaining tasks. This is actually Ki-joon and Kang-hoon's plan. They want to push her to keep doing carpentry, to get back on the horse where she fell off, to rebuild her confidence. Elsewhere, Young-ju and So-young learn something explosive from Jae-hee. Jae-hee's mother is also a director on the school board. She had told her daughter that firing a teacher requires a board decision. In reality, the proposal to fire Kang-hoon had not been approved due to insufficient evidence. Jae-hee is certain the minutes posted on the website have been tampered with. Mi-hee almost certainly hid the records that would hurt her. Jae-hee's mom won't step forward herself. To flip the situation, they need to find the actual minutes and use them to grab public attention. But Mi-hee keeps all the important documents locked tight in her office. With the room carefully guarded, Young-ju's eyes light up. That night, Young-ju sneaks into the school. He plays a game of wits with the security guard and slips through the dark. Tonight, he swears he is walking out with those minutes. The guard, none the wiser, even comes around to nudge Ji-won and Ki-joon, who are still working on their woodwork, that it is time to go home. As the young couple heads back, Ji-won is still down on herself, always feeling like she can't do anything at her best. Ki-joon reminds her, not everything is only worth doing if you come in first. What matters most is doing what you actually want. The best kind of love should be like this. Don't hold each other back, grow together, and get better together. After dropping Ji-won home, Ki-joon is about to leave when he gets a frantic call from So-young. Through the conversation, he hears about the minutes for the first time. Bad news. Young-ju went off the grid hours ago. So-young is in panic mode. He is about to steal the minutes by force. Stunned, Ki-joon races back to school. He stops Young-ju just before he breaks down Mi-hee's office door. Young-ju, fixated on saving Kang-hoon, isn't thinking about the consequences. Ki-joon, the cooler head, points out that if Young-ju sacrifices himself to bring Kang-hoon back, that won't really help Kang-hoon. It will just leave Young-ju in deep trouble, and Kang-hoon eaten by regret. Ki-joon finally manages to talk him down. Then Ki-joon delivers Young-ju to So-young. Sensing the deadly aura around her, Ki-joon decides to make his escape first. Young-ju isn't afraid of heaven or earth, but the moment he is in front of So-young, he turns into a model student. The clueless boy can't understand why she cares so much about his business. His total bluntness nearly makes her cough up blood. After putting So-young safely in a car, Young-ju finds Ki-joon again. Hearing Young-ju didn't see her home, Ki-joon can only sigh. Then he angrily kicks Young-ju right in the rear. The usually cold Young-ju rarely shows that adorably dumb side. The next morning, against expectations, the principal's office is broken into anyway. Mi-hee, livid, calls the police to search outside and launches a tight investigation inside the school. And here comes the unlucky one. Because Ki-joon had come back to the school the previous night to stop Young-ju and hadn't bothered hiding it, he becomes the prime suspect. What follows is a clutch moment. Young-ju, So-young, Ji-won, and Jongbok, one by one, step up and swear that they were with Ki-joon at school last night. Chae-rin sees right through it, knowing the kids are intentionally covering for their friend. In the end, the police only take Ki-joon in for questioning. They show him the surveillance footage and ask if he broke into Mi-hee's office. Just then Mi-hee bursts in to interrupt the questioning. The same woman who never minded blowing things up now finds herself rattled because it is her own dirty laundry on the line. With so many shady things she has done, she is terrified the police might accidentally dig something up, so she starts downplaying the whole incident. Make the big things small, make the small thing disappear. Tensions outside are high, but inside the classroom, another emotional drama is unfolding. To put it simply, Inbi is going to another idol audition. If she gets in, she will be gone for months, if not weeks. She is reluctant to leave Jongbok behind, but he, not wanting to drag her into trouble, has been avoiding her. So she goes out of her way to talk to Seo Young in front of him about taking a leave of absence to chase the audition. Seo Young plays along. Sadly, Jongbok keeps starting to speak and stopping. He never finds the courage to say what is in his heart. Around the same time, Mi-hee and Han-soo summon Ki-joon to the office. They accuse him of stealing a notebook from her office and demand to know where it is. Worried Ki-joon is being railroaded, Young-ju rushes in to help. Mi-hee isn't afraid of two students. The only thing she fears is the missing notebook. After trading barbs with the boys, she drops her ultimatum. Either they turn over the notebook or both of them get expelled. In this school, she sits at the top of the food chain, and her word goes after Mi-hee. Chae-rin pulls the boys aside. She has heard that Young-ju had gone to the school to grab Mi-hee's incriminating notebook to clear Kang-hoon's name, only to be stopped at the last second by Ki-joon. And now Mi-hee wants to make them both scapegoats. Chae-rin feels touched, confused, and furious all at once. Touched, because her ex-husband has so many people who love him. Confused, because she doesn't know who actually took the notebook. Furious, because Mi-hee treats expulsion like a game. Chae-rin goes to Mi-hee to plead the boys' case, asking her to at least spare them. Only when she sees Mi-hee's smug brutality up close does she finally understand why Kang-hoon and the kids are this angry. These elite tyrants really are something else. Chae-rin tries to be a peacemaker and gets called a commoner who dares talk back to her betters. Mi-hee bares her teeth like a wild wolf. Chae-rin's eyes go red. For the first time, she realizes she can't keep backing down forever. There are things worth protecting. Now the four leads come together and share everything they know. Mi-hee is going off the rails over a single notebook that ties her to so many people. She is willing to expel two students at once over it. The all-around honor student Seo Young instantly comes up with a plan. Even without the notebook, they can still bring Mi-hee down. She has manipulated the twins' rankings in outside competitions. She has bribed judges. There is enough dirt to get the media to whip into a public outcry. Said and done. To take Mi-hee on, the four of them ditch school early. The squad walks off campus with so much focus that the rest of the class stares. A group that looks like a flock of bunnies somehow gives off the vibe of a pack of gray wolves. Han-soo and Chae-rin shout from a distance for them to come back. They ignore it. They are walking the road to taking Mi-hee down. They set up base at Ki-joon's place. Seo Young lays out the plan to use the media to pressure Mi-hee. Then they hit a wall. A bunch of teenagers don't know any reporters. As they brainstorm, someone suddenly thinks of the kind man who had invited Young-ju to do the off-campus carpentry project. That was Jung-min, a deputy director at a real company. With his position, he must know a few media contacts. Young-ju immediately calls. Through Jung-min's connections, the group quickly meets with a reporter. The reporter is sharp and thorough. He carefully takes down the kids' accusations against Mi-hee and offers his read on it. Mi-hee has caused enough mess that the Department of Education will almost certainly investigate her misconduct. Hearing this, the kids are over the moon. Once Mi-hee falls, Kang-hoon gets his job back, and Ki-joon and Young-ju can return to school. What comes next is a massive plot twist. Sam-don, son of the school foundation's chairman, has met with the person who actually stole the notebook. The thief is none other than the principal's lackey, Han-soo. The man knows how to play both sides. He has been pretending to help Mi-hee hunt for the notebook while quietly using it to ingratiate himself with someone more powerful. His reason is simple. Ever since he realized Sam-don is a hidden chaebol, Han-soo has been scheming to climb. He has the kind of nose that reads which way the wind blows. Sam-don clearly hates being bothered. Mi-hee keeps generating new problems at the school. Han-soo saw his opening and stole the notebook to offer up. Sam-don was already done with Mi-hee. With the evidence in hand, taking her down is easy. Han-soo asks Sam-don to make him principal once it is all over. Sam-don agrees on the spot. The old fox and the young fox smile at each other. About then, Kang-hoon hears from Chae-rin about the kids' standoff with the school. Facing the threat of expulsion, his face fills with worry, while the kids stay completely calm. They have just polished off the greatest meal in Korea, instant noodles. The classmates who weren't especially close before are growing close through this shared fight. Even the usually icy So Young blends right in. Kang-hoon then calls in, but not to talk them out of it. He encourages Ji-won to make some signs and protest the school's unfair expulsions. He tells them when patience runs out, you stop being patient. This is also a lesson a teacher has to teach. Bellies full, the boys head up to the rooftop for some air. Now that Young-ju and Ki-joon have fully cleared their misunderstandings, they feel lighter than they have in years. They had been each other's biggest knot. Now they can tease each other again, fight side by side again, like the old days. Then a small bump shakes that peace. Ki-joon gets a call from Canada. The voice on the other end is his mother. Long story short, his mom has heard he is now living alone and is worried. She wants him to move to Canada to live with her. Unfortunately, Ji-won overhears the call. For a couple in love, separation is the worst news of all. After Young-ju and So-young leave, Ki-joon starts cleaning up the food, and the air between him and Ji-won turns heavy. He is the one who breaks first. He tells her his mom's plan. His uncle has opened a Taekwondo studio in Canada. They're thinking Ki-joon could go work there as an instructor. Even his career has already been mapped out, which basically means if he goes, he might never come back. Ji-won forces a smile. Terrified she will start crying, both of them lie awake that night. When you're in love, you sometimes think the way Ji-won does, putting the other person first when something big comes up. Ki-joon is also torn. His mom, his uncle, his grandmother are all in Canada, on top of a stable life. Practically speaking, Canada is far more appealing, but thinking of Ji-won, the one who stayed by him through the worst, his heart aches. In the end, the feelings are hard to walk away from. The next day comes more bad news. The reporter from yesterday calls. Because of pressure from his editor, the story will not be published. Everyone deflates. Today is also the day the school and Young-ju's family are scheduled to formally discuss his expulsion. Unless they take Mi-hee down first, the expulsion becomes official. Soon enough, Mi-hee and the teachers settle into their seats, waiting for Young-ju's mother and brother to walk in for the paperwork. Just then, another twist. Kang-hoon and Jae-hee have also reached out to reporters to feed dirt about Mi-hee. The focus is on her unjust expulsions, and once Jae-hee reveals that she is her own niece, the story takes off as a scandal about destroying her own family member. Mi-hee, now stuck on the hot seat, has no choice but to delay the expulsion. That night, Ki-joon's group throws a big celebration dinner. Young-ju is the guest of honor. So-young is the one buying. Ki-joon and Ji-won tease the two of them mercilessly, hinting that something is definitely cooking between them. Looks like a good ending is right around the corner. The next day, Sam-don walks into Mi-hee's office, throws the notebook of her misdeeds on her desk, and makes clear he intends to remove her. Mi-hee, never one to fear anyone, finds herself at a dead end. Along with her fall comes a major event for the school. Through this scandal, Sam-don's true identity becomes public knowledge. Everyone is stunned. Han-soo is gleefully waiting for Sam-don to elevate him to principal, but what he hears instead is that Sam-don plans to shut down the school entirely. Everyone is worried. Inside this heavy atmosphere, Young-ju and So-young are the rare bright spot. From fake dating to breaking up, then drifting back to something that feels real, the two of them have grown closer through every test. Their feelings have quietly bloomed. Chul-ju and Sunja have basically stopped opening the restaurant, sitting in front of a screen like the rest of us, watching the romance unfold. When Seo-young is about to head home, the two of them chime in and tell Young-ju to drive her on his scooter. You know who has the freest pass to hug another person openly? The person on the back of the scooter. So-young's round face presses against Young-ju's back, her arms around his waist. It is the simplest, sweetest version of that classic backseat romance. Young-ju's feelings for her grow by the day. He finally asks her out, ready to confess, but So-young, having been so busy lately, has seen her grades slip. She is buried in college prep and turns him down. The next scene proves that what people say isn't always what their heart wants. So-young keeps insisting they need distance, but can't help seeking him out, leaving the slow-witted boy completely confused. Ki-joon isn't so lucky. His mother has found him and is using every angle to push him to leave the country. Sensing her son's hesitation, Kan-hee asks Ji-won to help convince him. Ji-won thinks about how hard it would be for Ki-joon alone in Korea. She forces down her own reluctance, grits her teeth, and starts trying to talk him into going back with his mom. Hearing this, the part of him that wanted to stay in Korea softens. In between all the romance, the team has not forgotten the bigger fight. They join Kang-hoon in protesting the school's closure and start collecting signatures for a petition. As fate would have it, the foundation's old chairman, who had been in a coma, wakes up. He had founded this school. It carries deep meaning for him. Reading Mi-hee's recommendation for closure, the frail old man literally sits up in bed. He returns to the school school with the news the team had been praying for. The school will not be shut down. It will remain the school where thousands of students study. In the final chapter of the story, reunions and farewells, sadness and joy, all weave together. In the end, Ki-joon decides to go to Canada with Kang-hee. Before he leaves, he and Ji-won exchange gifts. Ji-won holds back her tears and wishes him well. Only after he is gone does she let herself collapse into her room and sob. About to board, Ki-joon opens his gift. With no idea when they will see each other again, the wooden heart inside makes his own heart ache. Just like the wooden heart Ji-won had carved for him as a kid, they had loved and protected each other. After everything, they end up right back at the beginning. That night, Ji-won cries herself to sleep, only to be woken by her phone ringing. Ki-joon's voice on the other end asks her to come outside and see the snow. The sky is letting down a soft layer. It may not have the cinematic romance of First Snow and Goblin, but it has the cleanest kind of romance, the kind that only belongs to two students still in school. When the moment peaks, the two of them kiss. Eunbi isn't sitting things out either. She finally gathers the courage to confess to Jong-bok, the boy who has quietly stood behind her this whole time. With his encouragement, her road to becoming an idol smooths out. She even ends up earning the title of Mom Idol. As she wins the weekly champion in the idol audition program, she thanks Jong-bok in her acceptance speech. Jong-bok is so worked up he nearly eats his own fist. Time moves on, and everything finds its rhythm. Before they know it, senior year is ending. Jae-hee has found friendship and love and broken free from the chains of her chaebol family. Chae-rin gets a promotion. Han-soo stays at the school. Now all the dirty, thankless work of supervising students lands on his desk. Everyone treats it as his community service. Ki-joon and Youngju start their internships, walking the carpentry path side by side. After college entrance exams, Youngju finally confesses to So-young, and the two of them officially become a couple. Ji-won takes on her own carpentry internship and chases the dream she had from the start. Finally, everyone gathers back at school for one last ritual, the yearbook photo. They graduate, and the entire series comes to a close.